You are live, it says.
Waiting for...
Are we live? Johnny's
YouTube
live.
hasn't caught in yet. There it is.
There we go. Are we here? Are we live? There we are. Hello, what is this? It's Appian. Not all customers are this loyal, it says. Appian. Modernize your customer service solutions faster.
Are you doing a
I
commercial?
was going to say, are we doing ads now?
Well, I'm just reading the ad. I'm just reading it. Hello, everybody. This is Johnny Beane. It's is it 9:12 or 8:12?
Tonight.
Has that happened yet?
It's going to be all kinds of times. It's going to go from here to there and everywhere.
Well, I think it's still... It doesn't happen until 2 a.m., so it's technically 12:13 a.m. Sunday morning on the East Coast.
Okay. Well, see, 2 a.m. for John BL will be sooner than 2 a.m. for me. Right?
Right. Yeah.
We're just going to have to keep a good eye on the clock because who knows what's going to happen.
Oh, I can still hear Nesdal's clock, man.
That's a reference to last night's show.
I think a lot of people can.
That was crazy. So yeah, it's 11. What's 11? November 2nd, 2019. Welcome. We got 38 5150s in the house tonight. Welcome. It's Straturday night. And we're going to hang out with you guys for a while. Talk about music, rock and roll. Basically anything. Whatever you guys
the show tends to go off the rails pretty quickly.
No problem.
All of a sudden.
For no reason.
Yeah. And let's see who's in here. We got John BL.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, man.
Happy daylight savings.
Oh, happy daylight savings to you, man.
I gotta.
What's your T-shirt? What is that?
I don't know. What is it?
Oh, it's Bocephus. Is that a Bocephus mode shirt?
Bocephus. Yeah, I got my Bocephus. It's a really... I don't know what company I got it from, but it's a really cheap shirt, and it's really small on me. But I figured tonight it'll pass. It'll be all right for tonight.
You can't breathe.
It stinks too. It's the ink that they use is really bad.
It smells. It's too small.
What do you want for $15.95?
I'm glad you're talking about the shirt. You know?
Yeah.
Wow. So, you get that off Facebook?
Off Amazon.
One of those Facebook ads. Man.
No, I just did Amazon Bocephus shirt or Hank Williams Jr. shirt.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they have a few different ones. Check them out.
Awesome.
Bocephus mode.
Bocephus mode. And Neanderthal. Hey, man.
Greetings from a part of the country that doesn't observe daylight savings time because Arizona doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, we don't do daylight savings, so it's just 9:15 here. It'll be 9:15 all night. It'll be.
It's because you guys don't have seasons there, do you?
No, yeah, we have hot and really fucking hot.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I'm wearing the vintage old Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon shirt made by whatever Chinese company made it.
Nice.
And it's so thin that you can almost see my nipples through it.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Probably the same company that made mine.
Yeah, try not to vomit.
Wow. And we also got Jay Hannon, but he's going
to get a drink.
He's going to go get a drink. So that's his avatar. Very cool avatar there.
It looks like it looks like the grill on I had a 5150 that somebody had pulled the grill off of and painted the stripes on it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks a lot looks like it's a common mod that a lot of people use.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
I'll try and put an avatar in when I take a break. See if I can find a picture.
Avatar thing, so I don't.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
First time hurts though. So I'm told.
Speaking of T-shirts, I'll tell you guys about mine real quick. This is Three Monkeys solderless cables, patch cables.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah, here's one of their buttons right here.
Is a monkey holding a gun or a banana?
Yeah, Yeah, that monkey means business, man.
Man, it was back in the day when monkeys used to like act in movies and have their own TV shows and stuff.
Ride bicycles.
Ride bicycles and what was it? Have their own bands, like the Banana Splits. You guys remember the Banana Splits?
Yeah, those
My
guys.
God.
Oh, and Lancelot Link.
Lancelot Link. What was the one with was it Clint Eastwood? He did a chimp movie, didn't he?
No, that was an orangutan.
Okay.
Any Which Way But Loose? Was it?
Well,
Yeah.
was it BJ and the Bandit? Was that another one? Was that an ape movie?
BJ and the Bear.
BJ and the Bear. Okay.
Was a TV show. Greg Evigan.
Yeah, My Two Dads.
Yeah,
right?
but he was on BJ and the Bear before that, which was kind of, I'm sure, was sort of a combination of Smokey and the Bandit, truck driver with a monkey. Yeah.
I heard that orangutan in the Eastwood movie went nuts.
He used afterwards. And he was addicted to cigarettes too, I think, or maybe he was an alcoholic or something.
Something like
on the set, he was, he had to have his case of beer or his, carton of cigarettes. I read that somewhere.
Man, I remember.
Hi, Soda. Sorry, just saying hello.
Hey, Soda. I remember when I was a kid, the bear in Grizzly Adams was the bear at the local zoo, like the bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Grizzly Adams, and I remember that with a guy was on
with Grizzly Adams.
Yeah, he was on the American Pickers a few years ago, and he the actor, I can't think of his name now.
He's in Dan Haggerty is his name, and he's
and I think he passed away a few years ago.
He's in a movie a couple of years ago. Sonny Barger, who is one of the primary architects of a large motorcycle club, who has just moved back to the Oakland Bay area, had a movie based on his book Dead in 5 Heartbeats. And is that Jay pouring a drink?
I hope
Haggerty
so.
Haggerty did like a scene in that movie that Sonny Barger did. So that's the last time I saw him. And the dogs. Here's Lemmy. Lemmy is saying hello tonight. She doesn't show up on camera very often. She's very, very timid. And Ace will probably try to jam a ball on me at some point. Wait, what?
I'm hoping Ned is okay, because Ned goes outside at night now, and I ran out to the car like right before we started, and I could tell a skunk had gone off somewhere out there. So I'm hoping it wasn't after him, because he's gonna come jumping in here.
Oh yeah, you'll know.
Whoa! Oh my god!
Whoa!
Oh!
Well, there goes the epileptic crowd.
Man.
Elbow. Oh shit! It spilled.
Oh,
Nice.
it's okay. You already said the F word.
Right on my Rob Johnson.
Johnny, if we say the F word, does that screw the show up? Because I didn't know that was the case.
Because I'm going to say it a lot tonight.
If it said too much.
Well, what's the count? Because I want to know.
That was just one.
I need to know.
That was the count, the actual count. I don't know. It's just if you swear too much, and this is the truth, YouTube won't promote the video. It'll start to hide the video, so it won't be as seen, like on the side, the side of the on the side of the video. You see other suggested videos.
Suggested
ones with a bunch of swearing aren't suggested. So that's one of the issues with that. But.
Noted that I'm going to start making up words.
Oh, funk.
Yeah.
Fire truck. Filth, Florin, filth.
In radio, you guys dump out when like if someone accidentally drops a.
Oh yeah. I've got a dump button that's right to my right. Mm-hmm. It's got a little check on it. It's a check mark, and when I hit it, it goes to like a red X. And we've got it set up so that we can dump about 12 seconds worth of audio. So if somebody swears on the air, we hit it once and it dumps. It basically cuts 4 seconds out of the broadcast. And if they do it a second time, we can cut. We can
from the delay. So at some point, you don't have a delay left, right?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
What we do is after the second time somebody screws up, I kill them. I take the phone off and they're done. I'll give you one accident, but that's sort of my responsibility on the show. So I make sure that nobody swears. So that's why when I'm on
that's
this
like
show,
that's an
so
FCC thing, right? I mean, you get fined through the FCC, right?
$300,000 per utterance.
Really?
Utterance.
So? That must go to the station, and it's a whole lawsuit and everything.
Yeah. What happens is somebody has to, and I'm not going to give you the full process.
Look at that.
I know, right?
$300,000
per utterance. Yeah.
Where does that money go?
The FCC collects it.
I mean, think about it, a radio audience. I mean, what would your audience be on a Monday morning? I mean,
there are 5.5
millions,
million,
or yeah,
there are 5.5 million people in the Valley. Any given week, we're talking to about three quarters of a million, at any given time. 750,000 people at a time.
And there's a lot of kids listening to them,
and that's rotates. So it depends on what time of day. Like when most of the people are in their car between 7 and 9. There is something called Safe Harbor, which is from like 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Where they're a little bit more relaxed. And basically what they say is anytime the kids are more likely to be exposed to the programming, they're a little bit more harsh with regard to profanity and risque content. Yet, if the profanity is contained in a work of art, like Pink Floyd's Money, the word do good, when they do goody good bullshit, that's contained within the lyrics in a work of art. And therefore that's allowable for whatever reason.
Okay. No, I've noticed recently they've cut a lot of those, the ones that were kind of like, hidden in the Pink Floyd song, not really hidden, or Van Halen. We were talking about the other week with Hot for Teacher.
That's dumped out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dog pile, you'd be surprised. 96% of all Americans listen to radio every week. So when you think that there's 340 million people in this country, there are still a lot of people listening to radio. That's one of the big lies of Spotify and Pandora and some of these other new media things. Radio is still the largest
most accessible
platform in the world. It's free and everybody can get it anywhere. So,
I'm one of the 4% then, I guess, huh?
You could be, yeah.
When I'm in my car, all I listen to is radio.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there, and it's not people aren't really listening for the music, they're listening for the connection. So if you say something or you do something that connects with people, they'll listen to you because they can get the music anywhere. They can't get what comes between the music anywhere else. So if you've got a good station that's well done, that's what they're listening for.
Is like satellite radio, is that in the same category that you're talking
What do you
about?
mean, as far as percentages?
Yeah.
No, satellite radio has it's a subscriber-based model. And I don't know how many millions subscribe now. I mean, the number was really low years ago, but
after Stern, it kind of changed, right?
It did well. I mean, Stern has a smaller audience now in satellite radio than he did in terrestrial radio.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But it's different. It's the only thing. Satellite radio is a big lie, and I love satellite radio, but it's a big lie. It does have all this niche programming, but the reason why the programming is niche is because there's not a big enough audience to sustain it on a real radio station. And so, for as much as I like Hair Nation and as much as I love the Boneyard or First Wave or, pick whatever format floats your boat, it's a subscriber-based model. So it's like with guitars. The guitar community is not as big as it was before. It's a small, very passionate audience. When you think about having 500 channels, like on your cable system, you have 500 stations on your cable TV or your satellite TV. How many of them do you really watch?
Stern. And
that's it. I mean, there are people that do that. Stern's show was better before he went to satellite.
I haven't listened to any Stern since the mid 2000s.
Well, I love it because my wife is
since he went to,
so she wanted to sign up she got some deal for like the premium Sirius XM subscription. So and she loves Pearl Jam, so she constantly listens to the Pearl Jam station.
Right.
And that's the only one pretty much she listens to, maybe the 80s one. But I'm just Stern, and that's pretty much the only thing I listen to on that.
Yeah, but Stern's show was so much better before he could swear, and when he had a better group of people around him.
But he still plays those older, like one of the Stern 100 or 101, whatever it is. It's like consistently playing like the older classic,
101. 101 is like the older stuff and the recap of like the stuff from 100.
Renus Pinkel brings up a good point. He's like, Hair Nation tends to repeat many songs. All radio repeats many songs because there's only so many songs you can play an hour, and there are only so many hours during the day. And to be honest with you, people don't want to hear variety. I know we're going to sit here and go, I don't want to hear the same 14 songs.
Right.
You're on an outlier. Most people want to hear what's familiar.
And don't bands kind of, when you go through like ASCAP BMI, and that's how they get their royalties and stuff. Don't certain bands not renew the licenses for a lot of the deep cuts, and that's why you don't hear them on the radio and why they can't play them?
No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with the licensing. Once you've got the licensing for an album, you can play whatever you want. Like that's part of the reason why we can't do music here on the show, and Johnny would be able to speak to that as well. You have to have several different licenses to broadcast copyrighted music. ASCAP, BMI, CSAC are the three big ones, and the licensing is very, very expensive to do that, because when you think about how many radio stations there are around the world, they get a percentage of a penny for every song played, and then they mail out these checks. Like every year we have to. I know this is fucking boring to everybody. I'm sorry. This is boring.
I love this. Yeah, this is good stuff.
This is fun.
You said funkin', right?
Music law.
Yeah, funkin'. Now all of a sudden I'm George Clinton, which is probably better than Bill Clinton.
I was gonna say you said George, right?
Yes, I said George because I don't want to get us edited for that too. But several times a year we have to submit our music logs, because whether you guys know this or not, every song that's played on every radio station in America is logged. There's a record of it, just like every email that's sent. There's a digital copy or a record of that. And what we have to do is we have to submit those logs to the publishing companies, the music royalty publishing companies, and that's how bands make their music. That's how, like, a buddy of mine told me he guesstimates that Geddy Lee will make about $400,000 a year just from his BMI royalties or his ASCAP royalties. And
I used to get a breakdown. I'm trying to think what years it would have been, but there was a span where I would get an email and a check, albeit a small check.
Right. Yeah.
But I'd get a breakdown of how many plays, what stations, what countries, like a whole breakdown. You know, I'd get a thing in the mail saying all this stuff, a breakdown of where all the, what songs.
Yep.
And it was kind of neat to see that.
It's fun when you get your first ASCAP check. It really is. The first time you pull it out. Like my buddy Luke was in a band called Another Society out of Memphis, and they had a tertiary hit back in the 90s called Blood Wrong, or One Last Step. The album was Blood Wrong, and they also did a cover of Nirvana's School. And he said the first time there's two things that he loved was the first time he heard his music on the radio, and the first time he got an ASCAP check. He didn't get them very long. When did you stop getting yours?
Probably 2008. I'm thinking.
What was the song?
There was a couple of them, because we had
what was the band?
Video. We had a music video on MTV, or MTV2, I guess it would have been.
What was the band, Jay?
Gizmachi.
Okay.
Gizmachi.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
But most of the money was from Europe, as far as the plays and stuff. But it wasn't a lot. I think my first check was in 100 and something bucks, and then after that it was like, and then I just stopped getting them. And now we have to go through Sound Exchange for all like the digital, as far as like satellite and Spotify and all of that stuff is separate. So every once in a while I'll get a I think it has to reach a certain amount before they'll actually send you a check.
Yep, that's where the license comes from, and that, kids, is why there are commercials on broadcast radio, because it's not free. It's only free to you. The radio stations pay millions of dollars every year, tens of millions of dollars every year for the right to broadcast that music over the airwaves. So it really isn't free. I mean, people talked about the Napster thing and how, people were stealing music from artists. Well, it's the same thing in the radio. I mean, if you're doing a streaming radio station from your house, and we can all do that now with this Wi-Fi and stuff. All you need is a web page and a digital editor. You can upload a stream of whatever music. That's now the same thing as radio, broadcast radio, which is why they want royalties for it. It's still a public performance of the music, so somebody has to pay the artist for that. The artist should be paid for their work.
Yep.
And that's why we do commercials.
So what do you think about that? Because I do know for years on the internet there was something called Van Halen Radio,
right? And
it was a website. Well, yeah, I'm sure you know about it. I'm sure it was Van Halen. What do you call it? The mailing list. I'm sure it was.
Oh yeah,
we all that stuff.
Yep.
So what about like somebody that does that? They make a website and they just stream, some bands stuff nonstop.
You have to have a license technically. what will happen is if the artist is protective or they have good people working for them, whoever owns the publishing rights and the broadcast rights to that is responsible for monitoring it. And something like Van Halen Radio or any other any other streaming site, if it gets too big, then all of a sudden somebody's aware of it. And when they become aware of it, they understand that it's being monetized, that there's money there, and that they're losing money for it. So they'll ask to see your licensing. And you can get a CSAC, BMI, and ASCAP license, and I think there's a couple other ones for your streaming radio station, your internet radio station. But you have to pay for it. It's a little bit cheaper for the internet. But what happens is when a song reaches X amount of spins per year, it's assigned a value, and you have to pay for that. But your licensing fee covers it. So you pay this licensing fee. Now that licensing fee can vary. It can be for your simple radio station, for like doing your online radio station, it could be, $500 to $7,500, or more, depending on how many licenses you have to get. So it's not at all a cheap endeavor. And when something like Van Halen Radio reaches a certain saturation level, then somebody at the publishing company or the record company or whomever owns the rights to the music says, hey, why are you broadcasting this? We want to see how many people you have listening to it and how many streams did it get in the last year. And there's a value to that for public license, public performance. In fact, cover bands are supposed to do the same thing. Bars are supposed to pay for licensing for bands that play covers. If you're in a cover band or like a Van Halen tribute band, the bar is supposed to pay for that.
Do you think that happens?
No. I think that's a very difficult thing to chase. I think that because people aren't buying physical product as much as they used to, although now it starts to seem, now that people are charging $30 for a fucking record, it's people are starting to buy music again, and that's why records are $30 instead of $4.98 like they used to be, because they're trying to recoup some of that money that's being lost in physical product sales. Right. So now, because people aren't buying records, they're starting to pay attention to the other revenue streams. Ticket prices are higher, merchandise prices are higher, and streaming fees are higher. There's a whole thing going on in Congress and the FCC right now about, digital rights, digital broadcast rights. And you're affected by that, Jay. And I believe an artist should be paid for their work. They should get paid for the performance of the work. So,
of course, yeah. I mean, at the time, I hated him for it, but Lars was right, man. He was 100% right. And he saw the writing on the wall. And as far as the record labels, like, they didn't do anything about it, but at the same time, how can you really do anything about it?
Right.
Well, it's very difficult when Sony Music is trying to defend their intellectual property rights for digital music or whatever it is, and yet the other side of their company, the electronic company, is investing in MP3 technology and those things that make it easier for you to digitize music and to compress it and make it more portable and stuff like that. You can't be Sony Records and be angry and then be the Sony company that puts out the digital Walkman. Apple Music can't be pissed off at Apple Electronics for putting out the iPod. So it's a difficult.
And nowadays, there's always going to be someone who can hack into those things and get it all for free. And it's been out since the earliest days of the internet. People who, the starting. I mean, even Napster was sort of a hack at some point. And
the thing is, with Lars, I mean, Metallica would never have been signed to a major label were it not for tape trading. The same kind of stuff that we did, years ago.
Of course.
You made a copy of an album, you traded it with a friend of yours, and all of a sudden, because Megaforce didn't have the kind of distribution that Elektra could do.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but what we did is we record a demo, and this is before, this is basically before we really started getting any kind of traction locally. We recorded a demo, and we'd go to the local shows of the same type of music that we'd play, like the same kind of genre and stuff like that. And we'd print out a whole buttload of CDs and just hand them out online, for free. And it's
that's what Kid Rock did.
I'm sure a lot of bands did that,
Kid Rock sold records.
I used to do
literally
that.
sold records out of his trunk and got so big that Atlantic Records went, wait, this guy is selling 20,000 records independently out of his trunk for like $10 a pop. And Kid Rock was doing just fine before Atlantic Records grabbed him. Now, obviously, he did significantly better after that because what you're paying for is the distribution and the production.
Yeah.
And a lot of bands get ripped off from that. There was a band that we helped when I was working in Sacramento. There was a band out of Portland, Oregon called Craving Theo that we helped get a record deal because we were playing, you play an unsigned artist. All of a sudden the record companies go, why are you playing this band? We're like, because they're good, and the audience reacts, and all of a sudden the shows are selling out, and it's all part of one big machine, as you know, Jay. But Craving Theo put out a record that was an independently produced record. It sounded perfect. There didn't need to be anything done to this record. And damned if Columbia Records didn't take the record in. And I told the lead singer, I said, dude, here's what's going to happen. They're going to tell you the record needs to be remixed and remastered. And they're only doing that to roll the artist chargeback fees up so that they have to get you back in recoupable advances so that you can go into debt. You don't need to do anything to this record. Just tell them to put their stamp of Columbia Records on it and put it out. But they didn't. They went in and said, as part of the deal, we're going to have our producer come in and play with the record. And all that did was start the meter. Because the minute you sign a record deal, you're in debt. It's like anything else. You buy a car, you're in debt. You buy a house, you're in debt. And you sign a record deal, you're in debt. You're an employee to the record company. You're an indentured servant.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. I don't want to get into too many numbers, but I do know as of, I think it was somewhere because our record's been out of print for a while. It came out in 2005. And I don't know how many printings they did, but I do know that we sold upwards of 10,000 records worldwide, right? And we never saw a dime. So we never recouped, No,
so they wrote you off.
Oh yeah. And it was under Sanctuary Records is the label we were signed to. And I know that
Drew was one of my friends.
Huh?
Drew Murray is a very close friend of mine.
Well, BMG ended up buying the entire library from when Sanctuary went under. So I'd actually tried contacting BMG, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months ago, and asking if, I want to get the rights to our album, because I actually have the Pro Tools, like the master files, the master sessions of that album, and I want to remix it and put it out because I think the original doesn't sound as good as it should.
Did the masters that you submitted to the label sound different than the final product?
Well, we were there for the mixing process, but I don't know. Long story short, it just, people like how it sounded, I guess, but me, at this point, I'm like, shit, I want to remix it, But I know that we can't do that.
I just found this book the other day.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
No, I mean, is this not relevant to what we're talking about? Sure. I mean,
well, if it was Curious George, it wouldn't be. But
no, as you guys were talking about, that's the last step in a lot of these, commercial albums is the mastering process. The mixing, but then mastering comes after that.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I'm watching some people in the chat, and they're talking about how the music industry ripped people off, and this thing is a ripoff, and that's a ripoff. You deserve to be paid for your art. You deserve to be paid for your work. I don't know what you do for a living, and this is something that I don't want to drop a name, but Gene Simmons told me in 1988. He said, look, if you're happy going out there and being paid $5 for whatever sandwich you make, working as a sandwich maker, that's great. But I think my sandwich is worth $25 and I should be paid for it. So you can't complain. This stuff costs money. It costs money to record records, and you're not really paying for the product. You're paying for the time invested in that. How many hours do you think Jay and his band had to rehearse? How many gigs did they have to play before they got signed and were able to put out a record? That's part of what you're paying for, is the experience of that. And you, as a home builder or as an auto mechanic or as whatever your trade or skill is, deserve to be paid for your work. So I wholeheartedly reject and find it really offensive when people say, "Oh, the record industry's ripping us off." You don't know what it costs to make a record. It costs a lot of money to make a record, a lot of money. And if you're not willing to pay for that, then that's on you. You don't blame the artists for their work. You have the choice as to whether or not you choose to consume the product. If you don't like it, don't buy it. But don't bitch because the label or the artist wants to be paid for their work. That's capitalism. That's freedom. That's American business. It pisses me off to watch people get mad about it. Shell out the money. If you like the band that much, pay for the band. Go support the band. Don't bitch because the band wants to be paid a reasonable fee for their work. Sorry.
Well, if anybody was ripping anybody off, especially like in the old like doo-wop era, it was the labels ripping off the artists.
Sure.
Oh, in the early days?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I think Van Halen, when they first got signed, I think they had a really bad deal.
Yeah, they
I
did.
think I heard something about
After their first tour, they owed Warner Brothers millions. I was just looking that up. I was looking for it.
Yeah.
I remember during the Noel Monk. I got to reread this at some point, but he goes through that all the expenses they didn't realize that they were paying for during those first couple of tours. And then they finally got the bill from Warner Brothers.
Well,
it was Courtney Love. I'm sorry, Johnny. Go ahead.
It was
I
Courtney
think.
Love that had Kurt Cobain murdered. I know.
Oh,
Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
I think some people, when they think of Metallica, they think, oh, I can bootleg their stuff because they're multi-billionaires, But there's other bands. There's bands that are starting out, and recording and even just bands that are putting stuff up on iTunes or whatever. I mean, even it's 99 cents for that song. And that band that they put a lot of work into making that song. I'm just saying some random band,
Right.
And they deserve that dollar for that song they uploaded.
Well, doesn't iTunes take 30%, right?
And that's what I was going to say about the Courtney Love thing. Courtney Love actually wrote an article for Salon.com a few years back, and far be it from me to give Courtney Love credit for anything, but she nailed it. She was like, let's say there are 5 people in the band, all right, and they get signed to a record deal, and the record company advances them $1 million. Now, a record company advance is a loan. It's not their money. When you get signed and they cut you that check for $1 million, that's not your money. Yep. That's money that they're loaning you against future revenue. All right.
We got a $20,000 advance. So there you go.
So you're talking about if they give you $1 million, there are 5 people in the band. That $1 million has to pay for, first and foremost, the manager gets their cut right off the top from that $1 million because they negotiated the deal to get you signed. So the manager gets their 10, 15%, 12%, 8%, whatever deal you've cut. So take 10% off of $1 million. Then how much does it cost to make an album? $500,000? So take another $500,000 off of it. Now you got to make a video. How much does a video cost? 100,000? Let's just say 100,000. All right. So now you're talking about 600,000 left of the $1 million, 600,000 spent of the $1 million minus the manager's cut. All right. Now the band has to get backline equipment because they got to go out on tour. So they've all got to buy their gear unless they have gear. But you and I both know your half stack is not going to cut it opening for whatever band X out on the road. So you've got to get 2 or 3 half stacks. You've got to get a dozen guitars or whatever it is, 5 guitars. Let's be economical about it. Plus you got to get a van to go around country. Plus you got to pay your road crew. Plus, how much do you think that leaves the band in the end for a salary? You're talking about $1 a record, because that's about what a point on a record costs. $1 a record divided by 5 people in the band times how many records sold in the first year. And oh, by the way, when that's all done, it's a little thing called AC, artist chargeback. All of that touring, all of that equipment, all of that, the promotion to try and get people to play your record, all of those dinners that program directors get taken out to try and wine and dine them. All the times the band walks into the Hard Rock Cafe and the Hard Rock Cafe says, hey, you guys want leather jackets? The band goes, hell yeah, we want leather jackets. There's somebody in back going, leather jacket 1, leather jacket 2.
That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm reading right here.
Artist chargeback.
That was John Biel doing that.
And everybody has to get paid on that. So
you mentioned like a dinner and stuff. It was all about Marshall Burrell. Before Noel Monk came along, and Marshall Burrell was the tour manager for the first couple of tours, and it was even saying, they had this big party and everything, they charged everything to, they thought that everything was going to be charged to Warner Brothers, but it ended up being charged right to the band, but it was Marshall Burrell's whole, he was, according to Monk, he was the one who kind of screwed them in the beginning.
And people bitch about concert prices. Well, concert ticket prices are going up because artists are asking for higher guarantees. A band like Van Halen got I believe $1.4 million per show, and then on the 2012 show. And I don't know that to be an accurate, but I was told that's about what they were getting, almost $1.5 million per show. All right, of that $1.5 million, there has to be, and the promoter, by the way, takes the hit on that. That's a guarantee. Now, a band will cancel a show for not having sold ticket sales for 50% of their guarantee. That's written in the contract. So what happens is the band is guaranteed $1.4 million. The tickets go on sale 6 months before the concert date. Usually 3 months before the concert date, sometimes 2 months, sometimes 30 days before. So a representative from the band will call the promoter and say, hey, where are we with tickets? The band agrees not to perform if you haven't sold enough tickets to cover the guarantee for the band. The band takes home about 40%, 50% of every guarantee. But in that is insurance, in that is touring costs, in that is crew payment, in that is, the promoter only makes half of it. The band makes what they make. And that's why concessions are expensive. That's why t-shirts are expensive, because the band gets 100% of their merch, or maybe 80% of their merch.
Well, nowadays, a lot of the labels are, what is it? What are those? A 365.
Yeah, 365 deal. Yeah.
Some of these some of these bands are signing with the labels, and the label gets a percentage of the merch. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's got to suck.
I've been behind the scenes seeing, bands getting screwed from, stuff on their rider, stuff on their merch, all that stuff. And it's like, I've seen my boss writing up, a bottle of tequila that's, cost him $10 and he's putting it in for $40 or whatever.
Oh, dude, we got screwed on the road a bunch of times, man. I remember this one.
Every little thing they can screw you for.
We were on the road with this. There's a tour with Byzantine that we did. Johnny, we had OJ from Byzantine. Mm-hmm. We had Brian on, but we did a tour with those guys, and we played this one show. I forget, it was somewhere in the Midwest, and the turnout wasn't good. And the promoter at the end of the show, when it was time to pay up, for the guarantee and all this stuff, he was nowhere to be found. So the tour manager, our tour manager and Byzantine's tour manager are going bananas. Like, say, we're not leaving this place until we get paid. So long story short, next thing you know, Byzantine's tour manager and my band's singer are just hauling cases of beer out of the tour into awesome. The band's trailers. And just like, both bands, we drink, but we weren't partiers. Like,
Yeah, but you were stocked for the next month.
I never really drank that much because I'm like, shit, I'm going to drink water because I don't want to get dehydrated, and suck. So it basically just sat in the trailer, but at the same time, we were like, yo, if you're not going to pay us, we're going to take it out of your ass then, But
the artist should be paid for their work, and the consumer should be either willing to pay the price for the artist's work or not. But don't bitch about it. You have a choice. Nobody's forcing you to attend the concert. Nobody's forcing you to buy the CD. And if you want it, you'll pay the prescribed price, the market value of it, or you won't. But don't bitch at the artist or bitch at the industry because of it. That's the cost of doing business. Just like, it's funny how people bitch about that, but they don't realize the cost of a pizza. A pizza costs like 70 cents to make, and you're paying $14 for it. But nobody's bitching about that,
Well, no, not even the pizza thing. Think of the friggin' coffee thing nowadays. My wife loves Starbucks, and what is it for a friggin' Starbucks coffee nowadays? $7?
Yeah, but it's pennies per pour.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, Jeannie, like, oh my God, look at our bank statement. Look at this.
And it's all water.
Where can we save a few bucks?
Yeah.
Get the 99-cent coffee or.
But no, it's beer at a football game is like $9, right?
But I think the reason why people complain now, because I've done it before too. It's been a while since I've bought a physical copy of a band's album, and I think the reason is because I think as a society we got used to having just, hey, it's online, I can get it for free right now. Like, it's in our minds, the value has gone down because of how easy it is to get it. I think that's the reason.
It used to be you heard a cool song and it was like either you had to wait till it comes back on the radio, MTV, or you have to actually physically go out and buy it. And now you can. I heard a cool song and it's something maybe either if it's something recent or if it's something 50 years old, you can just find it on YouTube. No matter what, and you can find 100 people covering it too.
But not even that. There's these websites that have,
or you can get the real thing too.
The whole album, you click and it's downloaded, and you got it. And it's just like. I think that's the reason. That's the reason. It's like the value in our brains. It's like
legit websites though.
Huh?
Legit websites?
Well, not as legit as like Brazzers or something, but
because that's the one thing I don't want to do is I can get all this.
You can find it on Google.
You get the bonus virus with it.
No, dude, I'm guilty of it. I shouldn't be guilty of it, but I am. And I've talked to other guys that are in bands as well, struggling bands, and they're like, we don't want to admit it in our interviews, but should I download free albums all the time? And it's just the thing. It's like we got used to doing it because it's there. How much time do we spend on the internet? And it's like it's so easy to get these things now.
I used to use Napster for shit that was out of print. Like if you were looking for, I don't know,
or bootlegs or concerts or something. That's what I would use the early download stuff for.
Yeah,
stuff you couldn't find in a music store.
If whatever record, Sire Records wants to press me a copy of Fisher Zed's "Going Deaf for a Living" album, then I'll go buy it. But until then, I'll search for the song on whatever streaming service or whatever downloading service I can find it on. I mean, that's what I would do. Is I was finding like different out of print material, and for that I would be willing to pay. But there was no pay model for it. But I would have paid if there were. 99 cents is not an unreasonable fee to ask from somebody.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now, we have Spotify Premium Family, right? So it's $15 a month. I have an email account with it, my wife, and then we have one of our old iPhones in Ellie's room that's hooked up to a speaker that we play music on for her. And to me, $15 a month, and I use Spotify all the time. My wife as well. In Ellie's room, there's music always playing on it. To me, that's cheap. $15 a month for whatever I want to listen to, whenever I want to listen to it. I would pay more. You know what I mean? If they told me, hey, next year in 2020, we're going to raise it, $5 a month more, I wouldn't complain at all because it's just, I use it all the time,
Mm-hmm. Is that the kind of thing like Apple Music? Well, first of all, I heard Apple Music is going away, or iTunes.
No, it's just they're just changing.
iTunes
redoing their whole
or something, right?
Apple Music ain't going anywhere,
or iTunes is. But yeah, I heard if you get Apple Music, you can listen to anything. You download it or whatever, but if the second you don't pay for it, it disappears. It all goes away.
Well, I think that's what's starting to happen is you're starting to pay for a license. You're not even getting to own the song.
Yeah, you don't own the songs.
And this to do renewable licensing for the song. So you can play the song as long as you pay for the license. It's like renting music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because with Spotify, like I can't, like with iTunes, you were able to, download the song or whatever and burn a CD from it and bring it anywhere, or send your friends the files until they finally got it down where those songs were linked to your iTunes account. But that kind of sucked too, because if you weren't logged in or something on your phone, and you actually paid for the songs, you couldn't play them. And that's
right.
I think a lot of people got pissed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, does anybody know what's the deal with iTunes where you open it up, after a couple months of not using it, and half your songs are gone?
Yeah, they're on different media, or they're on different hard drives. Going through.
I'm not talking songs that I bought from them. I'm talking songs I've uploaded from CDs, where it says like can't find the file, can't find it.
Different libraries, different devices. I've had that same problem too.
Yeah, that's happened.
That makes me crazy.
I get to this. I don't buy digital music. I don't use digital music a lot of the time. I'll record and compress some stuff digitally, but that's why I have thousands of CDs behind me, because I refuse to pay for something that I don't own a physical copy of, and that's okay. If I don't want to own a physical copy of it, I won't buy it. I'll listen to it when it's on the radio, but I won't buy it. There's very, very little new music that I'll buy unless it's on CD. Bought the new Airborne record last week because I love Airborne. And secondly, I don't want to trade fidelity for portability. And MP3s just don't sound as good.
You ever almost gotten into an accident flipping through your CD book in your car trying to change a CD? Yeah.
It can be tough.
Gosh, shit. What? God,
damn it.
One of them.
Well, worse is looking for it on your phone. Looking for something like a song on your phone.
Oh no! Hold on a second. What's worse is the old singer in my the singer of my band, or the old, I should say the old singer, because he's not a singer anymore. But he had a car back in the day, like I forget what year it was, but a Sentra, and it had a 6-disc CD changer.
Nissan.
It was in the trunk though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember driving with him one time. He's like, "What do you want to listen to?" I was like, "I don't know." So we're flipping through the book. You know, I'm in the passenger seat.
All right, gotta pull over.
This pulls over, gets out of the car, goes in, pops the trunk, and I'm like, "What a pain in the ass!" Think of that now. You know, it's like, who would do that?
Yeah.
6 CDs is nothing now.
No, I know.
I can listen to that driving to the store and back. You know,
that's what I'm saying. It's great for the Spotify thing now. You can make your own playlists, and
it does suck that people are getting so used to, you know, the general consumer is getting so used to the low quality of a lot of the digital music, and it's for years. It's getting better slowly. The digital
compromise,
stuff.
man.
But
that's because you're listening to it on an iPhone. Like, how many people do you know? They're like, here, listen to this, and they hit play on their phone, and it's coming to those tiny speakers.
Right. Yeah.
It's not until somebody like Bose, like I have Bose, believe it or not, I have Bose sunglasses that have Bose sound systems in them that will Bluetooth to my MP3 player.
Whoa!
Wow. Bose sunglasses.
I could be wearing the sunglasses right now and have this kick-ass music like be going on in my head while we're having this conversation, and the fidelity on it is fantastic. So
I don't know how anybody listens to blows. Those things are so overrated and overpriced.
Yeah, but it does sound good.
I have a pair of 301s. They're great. I always liked them. They were great speakers. Bookshelf
I think I have
speakers.
201 bookshelves. That is what I use here for my monitors for when I'm doing studio work. They sound good, and you can get them cheap now. You know,
Yeah.
I think I paid $25 for a pair of Bose 201s.
Wow.
To use.
Yeah, back in the day. I mean, I think I bought mine in probably the late 90s, and I think I paid like maybe $300 a piece for 2 bookshelf, 301s. Mm-hmm. That was what, and back in the day, that's what you had to pay for. Either that or you get like a JVC and it's just made out of plywood.
They probably sound better than the blows.
I have a Boston Acoustics, like one of those little radios that looks like one of the Bose radios. Mm-hmm. It sounds better than any Bose I ever played. And for a third of the cost.
Yeah. Well, for the last 10 years, it's been finding good headphones is the best way to listen. The way I listen to music nowadays.
I love the dog paw. Just has nothing positive to say about it. It must suck to wake up that pissed off at the world every day. It just must suck. It must suck to just to be that miserable in your life.
Well, they get to wake up an hour later tomorrow, or an hour, or whatever that is.
I just don't get how you could be that pissed. Like, everything sucks. Everything sucks.
Well, and it's all gone through cycles. Back in the 90s, it was vinyl sounds better than anything else. Vinyl's the best. Nowadays, they're going back to CDs and tape and saying, side by side, it sounds, a CD next to a 1/4-inch reel-to-reel at 15 IPS or something like that. They can rival each other, but it's all subjective.
It all sounds different, and people's ears are all different.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Nobody's ears are the same.
We talked about that last week with Eddie Van Halen's sound. His sound in the early 90s was significantly better than his sound in the late 90s because your ears get tired and you don't hear things the same way.
I mean, ever since, I had some, I don't want to call it hearing damage because I can hear fine, but I got tinnitus in this ear, severe tinnitus from somebody cranking a guitar in my face.
Somebody put a cherry bomb in a bass drum.
Yeah. And so I've had this constant ringing on this side of my head for 10 years now. That's never gone away. So the only relief I get is when I go outside. If I go outside, it kind of goes away. But sitting here now, I would swear there's a light bulb flickering right here, right? But I noticed after that happened, headphones sound different. The quality of music, depending on the headphones or like, what are those things called? The Apple earbuds?
The buds, yeah.
Those things used to sound fine. Now, to me, they're useless. I can't use them at all now because it just sounds like
nowadays I can't listen to music without going through, equalizing everything.
This sounds better than Apple earbuds to me.
Yeah.
but everybody's hearing is different. So yeah. So, some people, I would say most people can't tell the difference between an MP3 or a CD or even a really poor quality MP3 that's like, 40%, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's when you can start hearing the digital artifacts, like the swish to
you hear like the water
you can hear
sounding.
that.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people that can't tell the difference, and they're just fine with listening to that.
Yeah, but I hear that squeaking, that digital squeaking. Anything below, I think 128.
Yeah,
you can hear, like, once you get to 96 or below, you can hear it's like a squeaking sound in the background.
128, I think, is the standard. I think
it's removing the information.
Yeah, well, they're only every time you've got a digital slice, 320, 256, 160. 128, and you're trying to compress all those frequencies into smaller slices. You're going to lose something. Mm-hmm. That's why things like satellite radio doesn't sound as good as a regular CD radio does, because it's coming from 33,000 miles above the earth and it's been compressed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, in the car, right?
And you drive under a tree branch and it goes away. You lose Howard Stern for a couple seconds, and that's the worst, man.
What I miss?
That's all. Dude, when we rent a car, or if I ever get serious, whenever that is, Howard 100. That's the only station it's on.
It's fun to catch back up with that stuff. For years I listened to it when he was on regular radio, but very few times in the last decade have I listened to any of his shows. Like when you get the opportunity through
the last handful of years, he's kind of turned into what he used to shit on. He's rubbing elbows with all these celebrities now and all these goody two shoes, and it's like, he's kind of turned into a borderline phony in some aspects.
I've been the afternoon guy and the night guy on a Stern affiliate, and nobody works harder.
Oh, of course. I'm not saying that.
Harder at the time.
Oh, he's earned it all. He's definitely earned it.
Oh, of course. I would never think. I'm just saying. But when you listen to him now, and you hear him, do these interviews with these, bigwig celebrities, and it's like
a lot of it's nostalgia nowadays. When Larry King was on for 50 years, or whoever it was, Walter Cronkite. Eventually it's just you want to keep him around for nostalgia purposes, but he's still relevant. Yeah, that was back. I remember when he used to, try and sell that thing on, what was it, Channel 9?
WOR out of New York.
WOR, yeah.
That's when it was good. That's when he was still doing his own
before
thing.
The E Show, even. That was way.
Well, I think everybody's better when they're trying to prove something, and they still have a hunger and a drive to achieve. Sometimes when you reach that mountaintop, it's like you just put it in cruise control. You just coast.
Well, it's, as they say, it's easier to win a championship than it is to keep a championship. People tend to get lazy once they've won a few.
Get complacent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ace is pissed at me right now because I just gave Lemmy that ball. Watch how mad he is. He's like, why did you do that to me? Why did you deny me the ball? Ah. But yeah, no, I mean, Stern was, to me, was in his heyday right before the movie came out. When he got divorced, that kind of hurt a little bit. When he lost Jackie, that hurt a little bit. We were talking about this before we went on about chemistry in a band. The same thing happens in that show. There are certain things that show has lost over the years by way of staff members that I think have hurt the product. Stern is only as good as his surrounding cast, and Fred Norris and Gary Delabate have been there forever.
Are they still with him?
Yeah, Fred and Jackie, or Fred and
Gary are still with him.
Gary.
Baba Booey are still there.
Yeah, and those guys are essential to making that show work. And to be honest with you, when Jackie was there, he was essential to making it work. I don't think they were ever better than they were in 1994, where Jackie and Stuttering John and that there was a chemistry there that really worked, and Billy West doing the voices.
Well, doesn't Stern hate Stuttering John now?
A lot of the old, even back 10 years
Some of that
ago,
could
it
be
was
pro wrestling.
so much of the issues he had with his old anybody who he had fired or who had made it through.
Why Jackie leave?
I think it was money. I think it was a money deal.
Wow.
You know.
So what?
People...
Billy West. What was his? I don't remember. I mean, I know who Billy West is, but I don't. He had an actual role on the show that he was he did voices for the show.
Voices, yeah.
Really?
Well, when Billy started out working for a guy in Boston at WBCN named Charles Laquadera.
Oh yeah.
And Billy was his voice guy, and Stern wanted to try and take him, but Stern listened to Charles when he was at BU. So basically, when Laquadera's show ended and Billy West was available, he got signed immediately. And this was right around the time Ren and Stimpy were starting to get big.
You guys were talking about that last night, Jay. Yeah.
Yeah. Before Billy became one of the preeminent voice guys in the industry, he was just a radio guy doing voices.
No, I didn't realize he got his start in Boston.
Yeah, he started out working for Charles Laquadera at WBCN in Boston, and he's done very, very well for himself. Billy is. He had a band for a while. I think I have one of his band CDs here somewhere. But let's face it, Stimpy is nothing more than his Larry Fine impression. And he used to do, Granny from the Munsters as a racist, and all of these things. Marge Schott, he was the guy that did the Marge Schott voice for Stern, and did really, really well, and was able to parlay that into the Cheerios, Honeybee, and a variety of other cartoon voices. Futurama, yeah.
I love, Billy West. A lot of those that era of cartoons, the 90s and the 2000s with Brendan Small and Billy West and Matt Groening. All of that great stuff.
A few comments I want to get to. Renus Pinkle says Stern hates Stuttering John because he sold out and went to Leno. Krellbar says, and I agree with him here, Stern is one of the best interviewers ever. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And then we have an actual guitar/gear question, which I love. John Doe says, any here have input on the 6505 MH, which is the mini head, I guess that stands for? Well, I have a 6505 that is absolutely crushing. And I do know that the 6505 mini, I've never played it, the mini one, but I have the original. And it's just not as powerful, but I'm sure it sounds friggin' awesome.
What is that, like a lunchbox type, like a 15 water or something like that?
Am I here? Yeah, it's like their version of like the EVH lunchbox. Mm-hmm. It's just a mini tiny. They made one for the 6505, and they also made one for their classic amps as well. Their vintage looking ones. Anyway, I've heard them and I've played them, and they sound fine for what they are. Was he asking if they're good?
Yeah, he just said, what's your opinion, I guess, on them? I mean, they're kind of a one-trick pony, right?
All all PV5150s, all 6505s are all kind of one trick amps. In my opinion. I think the EVH ones are better. But I was going to say the 6505 112. That thing's
Ace likes it.
Terrible.
Is it?
It's an open back. It's a combo. It's a little combo. 112. Guitar Center has them all. You go to Guitar Center, they're all over the floor at Guitar Center, and they're just there's no bottom. They have no bottom end at all.
Are they do they have tubes? They
that's
what I would think.
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah,
I guess I could look it up.
They have to.
Yeah.
There's Ned. Ned, welcome back. Does he stink?
I never played my PV51.
You better hope that skunk isn't following him in there.
Yeah, I know. I'm just hoping he doesn't have a mouse in his mouth.
Oh, man.
He brought a mouse in the other night that was under the fridge. Yo, we got somebody else here. Dude, are you ready? I can't hear you. I
never touched my 5150.
You ready?
Oh, someone's coming in.
Here we go. Somebody's coming in. Hang on.
Oh,
hey.
Wow.
My old friends. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hey.
Awesome. How you guys doing?
It's a little small. We're getting smaller.
That's what happens.
Oh, there we go.
I'm not at my store tonight. I'm sitting in the back room of my house. This is my back patio that I sort of converted into my little YouTube room, and it's pretty trashy looking, but here's where I sat tonight.
Trashy looking. What are you talking?
Let's see it, Johnny. Highlight him. It's
You
good
can
stuff
see
to
the
look
good
at.
Parts of it. Yeah, there I am. How about
Nice.
that? I got my Marshall MOSFET sitting up there. And I got my old Fender Bandmaster sitting right here, sitting on a little Hughes and Kettner cabinet.
I have that Rolling Stone somewhere.
Oh, yeah, the
80, 88.
Yeah.
86.
Yeah,
Boy, they were a bunch of happy guys there, weren't they?
Yep, exactly.
And he doesn't look coked up at all.
Is that
None
the
of
actual
it.
magazine, or that's like a print of the cover?
Yeah.
Oh,
it is.
sure. That's cool.
But the big story is Peter Frampton comeback.
Yes, huge comeback.
That's the big story. But I've been watching you guys' show so far tonight. And talking a lot about how rock stars don't make money.
Well, I don't know about rock stars, but
Musicians.
there you go.
It's a tough road. It's a long way to the top.
If you want to rock and roll.
That's right.
Nothing.
It's a long way.
No, I think if you wanna rock, don't get in it for the money. You know.
You got to do it for the love of the music. And I actually got to go open up for Dokken 2 weekends ago.
Cool.
And it's strange, kind of a fun story. A guy came into my store 2 weeks ago, and his name is Alan Nevin. Or maybe it's Niven.
Niven. Alan lives up in
Alan
Preston.
Niven came in.
How are his teeth? I'm sure they look fantastic.
Boy, he smelled, and I didn't know who it was, but he smelled like cigarettes, and I was telling myself, you know, I think this person is somebody. I just sensed it, and that's Guns N' Roses manager from 1988 to 1991. So the 3 years right there.
He managed Great White as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Alan is one of the nicest guys in the music industry. He lives in Prescott. And he actually organized when the Granite Mountain Hotshots, which is a famous story about these firefighters that do mountain fires, wildfires, which obviously in California you're very familiar with right now. A bunch of these guys died. So Alan Niven put together a benefit a couple of years ago and flew Slash in to do this benefit show for the families of the Granite Mountain Hotshots. And he did it all, at no cost. Just did this thing as a benefit thing. He's a super nice guy who's sort of been pushed out of the industry.
Now, what year was he doing all the Great White stuff?
Same time he was, right around the time of Once Bitten.
Okay. So of course I called my buddy Glenn, and I'm like, hey, this Alan guy's down here. So Glenn immediately sent me this photo, and this is the gold record for the Lies album presented to Alan Nevin. You guys can't see that, but Glenn found this gold record at a pawn shop over off of Alma School Road. And so, yeah, he pawned off his gold record.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason?
1988 through 91 was a long time ago.
Man, but that's something. Shit.
What does a gold record go for in a pawn shop?
$75.
Oh man.
Oh,
But I know who has it. Glenn, he's the guy that does a lot of stuff on my channel with me, and super cool guy. And and so Glenn saw it, and you're always out looking at the pawn shops. I don't get to go out pawn shopping anymore, looking for.
It used to be great. I used to love going to pawn shops and flea markets and that kind of stuff. But nowadays,
No, John, pawn shops, not not.
Oh, I thought you guys.
Porn
Man.
shops.
I thought you guys were talking about something else.
Sleaze markets. Man.
So how did the docking gig go, man?
Oh my God, it was epic. Okay, here's what happened though. I told Alan when I just met him, I found out who he was, and I'm like, Alan, you were Guns N' Roses stage manager? And he's like, no, man. He stood up and he got mad and he's like, I was the damn manager. I hired the stage manager. And I was like, okay, man.
All right, buddy.
Right.
But the Dawkins show was, it was epic for me to get on that great big stage. We only did 6 songs. It was in Santa Clarita. And so that's, there's a fire going on there. And I was worried they were going to turn the power off and everything, but the show went on and we got to go on right before Dawkins. It was a great crowd. It was at the Canyon Club, and that's kind of like dinner theater. So everybody had a big plate of chicken or lasagna or whatever, and they sat there and watched the show. But I'm going to estimate it was maybe 300 to 500 people sitting there watching us play.
Wow.
And we sounded good. I thought we sounded good. And I took my Jackson bass with me, because we tune all the way down to D. And so I have this Jackson bass that it has a nice big set of strings on it. And some guy brought it into my shop and sold it to me for $100. And I took that to the gig.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a fun show. And I got to, I talked to the bass player in Dawkins during the sound check. His name is Chris McCarville, I think. But Chris built his own bass guitar. And it's a super cool bass. And he literally went to Home Depot and bought a piece of wood and built the neck. He built his guitar. He didn't order a neck from Warmouth or someplace. He actually built that guitar. And when I saw Dawkins like 2 years ago at the Rainbow Room, you know how they have the backyard party at the Rainbow Room? Dawkins played there a couple years ago. And I went to that. I think it was on Labor Day. And Don Dawkins introduces, hey, here's our bass player, Chris. And he actually built his own guitar. So that kind of got my attention right there. And so I knew driving to the Dawkins show that I want to interview Chris about his bass guitar. So I'm on stage with them during their sound check at like 4:30 in the afternoon. And they, you're talking about how bands can make money nowadays. And they didn't have no roadies with them. They maybe had one guy with them. But it's 4:30 in the afternoon. They're setting up their drums. They're setting up their equipment. They're doing their own sound check. Don Dawkins nowhere to be seen. But the other guys in the band, they do the whole complete sound check and everything. But I asked Chris, I'm like, hey, you built that bass, right? And he's like, yeah, man. And he just handed it right over to me. And he like, check it out. So I'm up there, boom, 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 trying to play his bass. And during the sound check.
What style is it made out of? I mean, was it made to look like?
I have a video about it, but it's kind of it's really unique. It's got flames on it. It's hair metal looking. It's, black, orange flames, maple neck. He's got his own headstock design and everything.
That's cool.
And so I said, Chris, I have a guitar shop over in Mesa, Arizona, and I do YouTube videos. Would it be cool? Can I interview you about your bass? And he's like, sure. So we're actually on stage, and I take my camera out, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm with Chris from Dawkins, and he built this bass, and he's going to tell us all about it. So he's talking about his bass, and about maybe 90 seconds in, the sound guy was like, hey, tell them not to do that now. I'm trying to do a fucking sound check, And so Chris was nice enough to say, hey, man, meet me down in the little backstage area. So we went down into the kitchen area, And I started over again. Hey, man, I'm with Chris from Dawkins, and he's going to show us all about his bass. So we're talking about the bass, and I'm another 90 seconds into, take 2 of trying to do an interview of this guy about his bass. And my singer comes running back there. Yeah, that's the headstock right there. You found it.
Wow. Look at John BL, man, just on top of it.
It's a badass bass. And he's got
that's cool
pickups in that thing. And it's passive, but he's got 3 different pickups that he can turn them on and off together or alone. And it's got a big plastic cover that covers all the pickups. And so you don't see what the pickups are, which is really kind of weird. So your fingers don't, they kind of stay right up on top of everything when you're playing it. So then as I'm trying to do take 2 of my, video with Chris, then my singer comes running back and says, hey, the sound guy wants him on stage. So stop trying to do an interview with him. So
nice job, Dane.
So I gave up. Couldn't do it. I was just getting in the way of their sound check.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you can't see those pickups. It's covered. They're covered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a piece of black plastic or whatever it is.
Or the one I'm looking at, it's like green. It's like green tortoise.
So yeah, I think that endorsed by a pickup company then.
And that Lee Axe, whatever he put on the headstock is his middle name or his wife's name and his kid's name, and he mixed the names all together to come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but when you picked it up and played it, did it feel like a just a good normal bass, or did it have some unique features to it besides obviously the pickups being covered?
It felt like a big fat 50s neck, and it felt like brand new fresh strings.
It's beautiful. He really did a good job on that.
Fast, and it had that the nice new tone. You know how bass guitars, you have an old vintage tone or you have the new modern metal sort of a tone to it? Yeah. I'm going to say that thing had like a newer modern metal kind of tone to it,
Does he have any plans to maybe make, maybe contact the company to kind of have...
Is that the only one he's made?
Or is he just going to make them for himself?
More stuff, I don't know. I think probably just for himself.
Oh, that's right, because you didn't have a chance to...
I couldn't do the interview, but I put enough together.
This interview's over.
I filmed my own little intro, and then I put my band playing a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
And so I made a 5-minute video out of it, and so it's kind of cool. It was fun. And the crowd was really receptive to us. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so we get to go back in February. And in February, though, we're not going to be in Santa Clara. We're going to be at the Canyon Club. I think it's in Montclair. Is that a place in Cali? Montclair?
Johnny's...
I will assume so.
No, but we're going to open up for Foghat.
Oh, that's cool.
Next time.
At the Christie Canyon Club?
Yeah, the Canyon Club.
Real name, Melissa Bardis-Banian.
Was it really?
Yeah, my buddy went to high school with her.
Wow.
He's like, what, Missy Bardis-Banian? I went, who? Yeah. Christie Canyon's real name. You're welcome.
So funny.
But they had the California fires were going on, and I was the weekend before the gig, I was watching the news, and there was fires in Santa Clarita, and I'm like, man, that gig's going to get canceled. But the gig went on great, and I saw some, driving up the highway or getting up on the freeway, I saw where there was some burned areas, but the fire was out. I didn't see any smoke or anything. And then I came back home, and the very next week, that town is on fire again. So I kind of snuck right in there between the fires.
crazy.
What's funny is there's a yin and yang to this whole thing. The cool part is you got to play in front of 300 to 500 people opening for Dokken. The bad news is Dokken is playing to 300 to 500 people these days. I mean, that's sad for those guys, for a band that used to be an arena band. You know.
Well, is it just Don? Is Don Dokken the only one who was?
Don's the only guy. You know, they had Wild McBrown was with them until sometime last year. And once in a while, they'll do a reunion with George and the whole band. And Foreigner, because Jeff, the bass player, is in Foreigner, but how much longer does Foreigner really have? So they always have that opportunity of putting the original lineup back together. And the only criticism, though, is the way Don sings now, everything's in the low register. So when you're doing like the opening verse of Dream Warriors, where it's nice and quiet and he sings pretty, that part of it still sounds good. But as soon as you get into that high falsetto that he was so good at back in '88, it's just, he doesn't do it. He doesn't even attempt it.
He can't do it then, huh?
He lets his bass player do it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, his bass player does that part. And he stands next to his bass player and says, forever.
Oh, man.
He's low register.
Warriors.
Hell yeah, man. I listened to that song today, actually.
Don't wanna dream
On Spotify?
Oh, man. That's great.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, 4.
Yeah, how about when lightning strikes again?
No, he doesn't. He's like, lightning strikes again.
It's a lounge act.
It almost is, but
Should have known better.
the
Should
band
have
is
seen
loud.
right
The
through.
guitar tones are awesome. The bass tones, the band sounds great. It's just, he's singing his low register. That's the only problem with it.
Over and over, falling in love.
And half the guys, come on, you guys all admit that we made fun of those high register screamers back in the day, because
And now we want to hear it.
never saying anything like that. We made fun of those high screamers, so they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Well,
I think he asked this question earlier. He said, is that a yellow
Ibanez.
Fabonez? What?
He called it an Ibanez earlier.
Oh, no, I thought I said that.
Oh, they're making fun. They're saying that the guitar is fake.
You found out last night it's fake, right?
What? I called Ibanez, and they, at first, when I said the serial number's all zeros, he said it's fake. And I said, and then it came out that it's F19 with 5 zeros, and he's like, oh, it has F19 on there. I said, yes. He's like, oh, hold on a second, I'll type it in. And he typed it into the system, and a production number came back, and he's like, oh, okay. And then he gave me a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-digit production number for this actual guitar. Dude, if this was a fake, it's a damn good.
Well, that's what I was saying to myself. If that, I mean, it's still worth it if it's that good of a guitar,
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
they put a lot of effort into faking that.
But
is this the one? Is this the one you unboxed last night?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh,
I've had this.
That's the one. I mean, that's the one you've been playing for a while, right?
Yeah, for what? 3 months now or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's an awesome guitar. But like I said,
by a generous viewer of Johnny Beane.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Jay Hannon. I mean,
that's right.
Steve Carmichael.
All right, I need a beer and I have to change my shirt. I'm getting heckled.
If you guys
getting heckled for showing too much chest hair.
So to completely change topic, if you look on the back of the Tooth and Nail album, George is playing Aria Pro 2.
Oh.
Yeah. How cool is that thing?
What year was that? Was that like 86 or something?
Yeah. And down here at the very bottom, it actually says, I think right here, it maybe even says, that he plays Aria Pro. Aria Pro, Area Pro. Always remember though, it looks like Don Dokken was picking his nose in this photo. doesn't it?
Also,
He's got a booger on his
He's
finger.
rolling. He's rolling it.
Explosion.
Yeah.
He's rolling it.
Rolling it.
Steve Carmichael says, "Why did you say it was all zeros?" I didn't say that. I said I'm pretty convinced that I said it's F19 all zeros, and I don't know if he heard me say the F19. But look, see, it's.
But that makes sense. Yeah, like you were saying, if it was a 2019.
I just spilled some root beer on my computer, like Dave Nedville.
Good job, Dave.
Oh,
it was all right. It's a couple drops because
that's Dave's fault.
Yeah, it's Dave's fault. It's just a couple drops.
F19 million.
Wow.
Or how many is that?
Five zeros. But like I said, I gave the guy the entire number with the F19. He's like, oh, hold on, let me type it in. So, but there's no way this thing. I mean,
No.
even if he said, yeah, it's a fake guitar, I want to contact the guy
Right.
that made it because, come on,
Are those stainless frets?
Oh,
no,
look at all those bird's eyes,
what I'm
man.
saying,
That
dude.
looks nice.
no-
Yeah.
The
There's
guitar,
billion. I've never seen.
Billions.
Oh my gosh!
Billions.
look at that.
I've never seen so many freckles on a fretboard.
The guitar is awesome. It plays great, feels great. I haven't stopped playing this since I got it. You know. So,
Man, well, it's very special. I mean, it's a very special guitar.
special.
Meh.
By the way, did anybody else notice that George Lynch's hair looks exactly like Lamal?
Oh,
Dude,
Are
all
you-
the hairdos back then were awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Lamal from Kajagoogoo had called. He wants his haircut back.
oh,
You know what? One thing I
Kajagoogoo.
will say about Dokken, though, after the Under Lock and Key album, they pretty much was like, you know what? Let's not do the whole, dress up in, skin tight pants and all that kind of stuff. They kind of got away from trying to look like Motley Crue or trying to dress up in 80s hair metal fashion. They gave up on that. They're like, no, there's no sense in it.
hmm
Dokken was like never a headlining band. They were always sort of an opening act. Second, third on the bill. You got what you want. You got what you deserved out of a Dokken show, but they never really popped. They were one step below Rat, who were one.
Well, I was going to
step
say, wasn't that
below
like
Motley Crue.
Cinderella, Rat? A lot of those bands that were opening for all the, the big ones like Bon Jovi and probably Poison in them, but there was always the B level.
But they did have a couple of great hits.
Mhm.
In My Dreams was great. It's Not Love is great.
Well, this record has Unchain the Night, The Hunter,
that was a
In
hit.
My Dreams, and It's Not Love. So I'm going to say there were 4 pretty good hits on this album.
It's not Muff.
Yeah.
Come on.
I could have swore I heard that.
It's not Muff.
I know Fruitcake.
I think
I'm
I'm
well
in
aware
the
of why
very-
Dokken.
The
Didn't
very,
pop.
very minority by saying that the first Lynch Mob album blows anything Dokken ever did away. That's
Can't
my.
agree more.
But I think I'm in like the very, very small minority by saying.
Not here. I love the first Lynch Mob record. In fact, even the second Lynch Mob record is really good too. Robert Mason is a fantastic singer. Just ask him. He lives here, and I like Robert very, very much. But he's everybody's replacement singer. He's been in Warrant for a few years now and does just a fantastic voice. He knows it. He's not an asshole about it, but he's a great singer, and he's all of about this big. He's
And
this
the
tiny
last
little guy.
Dokken album, he was the lead singer where the whole band got back together except for Don Dokken, and Robert Mason did all the vocals. That was the
Yeah, I
last.
forget the name of the band. It's not Dokken though. It's they called the band something else.
Yeah, how could they call it Dokken without Don?
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a Dokken record with Robert Mason singing on it. It's basically, Mick and George Lynch and Jeff Pilson and
Is it good?
and Robert Mason. It's all right. Yeah,
Oh, all right, never mind.
Is it good?
No, I mean,
It's all right.
good is relative. I mean, if you like Dokken with an amazing singer in front of the band, like Lynch Mob was, then yeah, you'll like it. Just like I like the KXM record too, which is George Lynch and Doug Pinnick from King's X.
Well, somebody's got to tell me the name of that, the name of the band with Dokken without Dokken.
Is it the End Machine?
Yes,
That's it.
The End Machine.
The End Machine.
They just should have like spelled Dokken backwards, and that should have been the the band name. I'm gonna peep that.
yeah, I'm looking for it now.
And it's recent. It's this
Nice. Dude, that's now.
it's this year.
Yeah.
So what era? It has the full band members from Dokken.
It just happened.
It just came out today.
And they're on tour.
Does George Lynch play on it?
And
By
Jeff
the way,
is in Foreigner right now, but for those four guys to get back together, it could happen, and it most likely will happen one of these
by
days.
the way, I got to point out Mad Dog for the win tonight. This show looks like a hair club for men before and after photo. It's back, and I don't think it's playable. That's fucking brilliant. Sorry. There goes my mouth again. Foreigner has one of the best. Foreigner has one of the best lead vocalists that never gets referenced from that era. A guy named Kelly Hansen, who was in a band called Hurricane, who put out 4 albums that are phenomenal, but are for the most part out of print right now. Doug Aldrich was in Hurricane for a while. Another one of those underrated guitar players. And Kelly has been singing for Foreigner. You own a Pomeranian?
Yes, I do.
What's wrong with you?
Wow.
This is a great dog, man. I love
Do you wear Crocs and ride a Segway too?
Damn.
this dog is named Grizzly,
Of course it is.
but I call
Oh,
him Grizz,
Wish I had hair like that.
and sometimes I call him Grizzilla.
So do I.
Now,
that is a great metal hair.
Here's what this dog does really good. When you hold it like this, it just chills out right there. It lets you hold, it doesn't squirm, try to get loose or anything like that. It's that kind of dog where you can just hold it like this and it'll
Looks like a football.
chill.
Yeah, you stick a hockey stick up its ass, you can dust the blinds.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Oh, that's where we went over the line.
FCC violation.
That was a Mancuda.
$1,000, Johnny.
That was a Mancuda right there.
Was it really? I got mancuded.
What is a Mancuda?
You got Mancooties.
Oh.
Yeah, your dog has like a Don Dokken haircut right there.
Dog Dokken.
Almost
Dog.
Mully's dog.
John, if you had that hairdo, you'd be John Jocken.
Dog Doggin.
Dog would be
Dog
great.
Doggin.
There you go. There's one of the more underrated bands in the history of the sport. As much as Jakey Lee sucks, that was his zenith.
Here's what's really cool about this record. I found that at a Goodwill for 99 cents.
Oh, I have a friend that's a Goodwill addict.
And this thing has even been autographed by them.
Oh no.
No way.
Wow. That is a great find.
And look at this. Paul, you know what this means. What's it mean when they cut that out like
That's a
that?
record promo is what that is.
Yeah.
So you should have actually not paid $1 for that. You should have been able
Yes.
to say, it's the
Free.
promo record. I'm out of here with it.
Yeah, on the back it should say ownership is unlawful. Ownership of this record belongs to Atlantic Records. Should be a stamp on it somewhere.
There'll be a gold stamp.
Yep. There you go. License for promotional use only. Any sale or unauthorized transfer is prohibited.
Dreams in the Dark. Now, is this music even available? I heard that you can't even get the CD of this stuff.
You can't.
It's all out of print.
It's
and
not
there's
even on Spotify either.
Yeah, there's a reason for it that I can't get into right now. But
Did Sharon Osbourne have something to do with you not being able to have this music?
no,
No,
there's
the singer got in trouble.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a legal reason for it, and it's a good reason. So, just a Badlands is a sadly overlooked footnote because they came first of all, they came at the end with a bunch of great bands. We talked about Spread Eagle a couple of weeks ago and Blue Murder with John Sykes, and
Blue Murder.
They were part of that. What?
Blue Murder, that record is great.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about there was a group of those bands that came out toward the end of the hard rock hair band era that got sadly overlooked, and Badlands may be the best of them.
Mm-hmm. Is that really autographed?
Yeah.
Is that legit signatures though?
Hey, I don't know. I found it.
If that's
It looks
actually
like they signed over the sticker, so I mean, yeah, that looks legit.
well, no, I mean it could be forged.
Dude,
who
would fake?
Yeah, right.
It's not like it's Van Halen.
But that'd be insane if it's actually autographed and it's 99 cents. Goodwill.
Who cares?
That's funny.
Right there.
Goodwill doesn't care,
Like whose signature in there? Well,
Dude.
Jakey Lee, right?
Hold on, who's
wait,
Rock?
that's the guy. That's the guy from Kiss.
Yeah, it's Eric Singer.
Oh my gosh! So wait,
That's where my friend
Johnny
buys all
wants
her movies. My friend buys all her movies at Goodwill, and she goes there and she gets a stack of them like a crazy cat lady.
Look at that, man. Mint.
Is that Atlantic?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's mint too.
that's
That's the thing about records. If you find a record in great shape, it means nobody played it. So most likely it's one of those artists that you didn't want to listen. Very rarely do you find a Black Sabbath album that's in great shape because they end up on your turntable, dust gets on there and everything. And
Like when you buy a 45 off of eBay, it's all scratched up. Look at the cover here.
Yeah, it looks like it was used for air hockey.
Been out in the sun for a long time.
Panama.
What'd that cost
Oh
you?
yeah. How much was that?
$3, something like that.
$3?
Yeah.
Cheaper when it came out.
You mean with shipping?
Well,
With shit.
Because dude.
I actually have an unboxing.
Bagging.
Bagging.
You didn't tell me that.
Another
No,
$3 find.
Because dude, I can get that 45 out here at Amoeba Records
45 cents.
all day long for $1.
Well, free shipping, $3 on eBay. That's worth it for me. And then I get the Isle of Weight one. Isle Weight, like the Isle of Weight. The Isle of Weight.
Oh my gosh!
Not to be confused with the Isle of Lucy.
Man,
grab it.
Yeah, let's see what's in this baggie that you got.
Nothing spectacular, but I do have a. This was like another eBay find. $3. It's a book. $3 and.
Well, don't tell us what it. Now we know what it is.
Oh, shit.
It's a book.
Oh, it's a.
Well, what's the topic? What's the topic?
Who wants a book?
But it's a book.
Shakespeare. Well, look it. What does it say all over the?
It says your address.
Yeah.
No, I scratched it all out.
Everyone poop.
All right.
Even assholes?
That's a classic.
even that piece of fruit.
There's your thumbnail, Johnny.
Everybody poops.
Everybody poop some. I want some poop. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Can you open that sometime?
John.
The show's only 3 hours long.
John, is that Randy Savage on your shirt or is that Josephus?
Josephus.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, it'd be better if it was me. Savage, man.
Ah.
Are you?
So
Is this to help you build your scale model of the 5150 tour?
maybe
Was that last week? Oh no, that was the week before.
from the Chicago Public Library.
So it's stolen.
So yeah,
Probably, yeah. That would make sense. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
should call-
Yeah, $3. No shipping
Dude,
and
you gotta
handling.
you gotta call the Chicago Public Library, find out when it was checked out, and get the cost of the late fees on that.
you should.
Find out how much that thing costs, and then dime out the person that sold it to you.
Is there a card?
There's
Is
no
there a
card,
card?
but there is a place for a card.
Is there a slot?
Nobody
Is there
has
a
checked
stamp on
it. There's no stamp on it. Nobody checked it out. So
That
Somebody
is a card.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, what do you
Seriously,
want?
call the Chicago Public Library. Tell them you have that book and you're holding it hostage.
Well, you want money to get it back.
They want
So
you. They're
the-
going to give you your $3 back.
The first thing I usually do is look up the index, see if there's any Van Halen. Because
You're such a nerd.
several of these books do have, pictures or something from them. But I'll have to go through this. It's got all like the, pro audio gear, that house mixing consoles, monitor, all the stage plots and everything. I love that stuff,
John, why don't you do that for a living and throw away?
I used to do that. I did that for years, but it didn't pay well, and it was, being a grunt and pushing cases for a long time.
So driver's ed has that much more prestige?
Well, I can, I have like a 2-minute commute. I don't have to, drive 3 hours to get to a gig and everything. And I can, get paid and to work for a city. And it's a little more substantial than, waiting between gigs in December. So lighting systems,
All joking aside, crew guys bust their asses, all road crew guys.
I did it for years and I loved it, but I can't do it in my 40s.
Toughest one is riggers, man. Riggers and all those guys that have to climb the lighting trusses and stuff. That's
Funny you say that. So
that's the toughest job. A lot of tours lose a rigger. Guys fall from those rigs and get screwed up.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, and I am kind of researching and starting to get stuff to build the real stage, to build like an actual wooden, a real substantial model with
real
details and everything. So, but I found this, I was just searching eBay for books, and for $3, literally, I mean, this was 3 something, free shipping. So it's certainly worth it. I'll have to check it out and see what kind of little tidbits are in here.
Did they send it in the bookmobile?
The bookmobile, yeah.
The sweet,
Frozen?
the sweet pickles van.
Sweet pickles, yeah.
Is Jay Frozen over there? He's over there doing something.
Once in a while, you'd get a lead singer, and you're talking about the rigs and climbing up the light pole. But the guy from U2, right? Bono?
Yes, that's his name.
Climb those things.
An unknown young lad from Ireland.
Yeah, and he'd climb up there, and he'd be, 150 foot up and doing crazy stuff. And the Red Rocks concert, U2 live at Red Rocks in probably 1982.
Yeah, we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago. Under a blood red sky.
Yeah, that was epic, man. He's holding the white surrender flag, and steam's coming out of his mouth and everything.
Yeah, I remember the same. Show. Yeah, the same when they would play it on VH1. It was VH1. I don't think MTV ever, but they would play like the full. At that time it was, I think, a 30-minute show, and I remember the same thing. Yeah, you got the steam coming off of them, and it was raining in the crowd. You can see the rain coming down on the crowd.
And the Edge would set on a chair or a piano bench behind the keyboards with his guitar in his lap, and he would sit there and do the keyboard part and all the guitar parts and everything all at the same time. Yeah, that was
like Ed would do.
Yeah.
Hey, John, Fruitcake Tony says I should send John BL a Van Halen local crew shirt. He has about 20 of them.
I have an 08 shirt, but yeah, man, that would be really cool. Which ones does he have?
I don't know.
Because I won't take an 04 shirt. No, I won't take it. No, of course I would. I love that stuff.
I'll take any T-shirt.
Absolutely. No, I wish I still had all the crew shirts that I used to get. I mean, I did have a David Lee Roth crew shirt and a Sammy crew. I actually still have the Sammy one, but it's not an actual crew shirt. But most of them were. Back in the day, I was a smaller guy, so it was like most of them were like larges or extra large. I can barely after,
Oh, you're talking
20 years of washing them.
Shirt size.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I finally turned the chat on over here, and I see Thrash Metal and Fun Riffs is talking about Incubus live at Red Rock. Did you guys ever see Incubus?
I'm going to see them in December. I'm not really excited about. My wife's a huge fan, so we got tickets.
You're driving, huh?
Yeah.
I saw him in 05 or 06 or something around that time. And the DJ, and I'm not into like DJ spinning and everything, but one thing that I will say about that band is back when I saw him in 05 or 06, the DJ, they gave him a little solo for 10 or 15 minutes. He got to just do his thing and spin records, and it was badass. And I'm like, okay, I guess the DJ thing's kind of cool. I am sort of glad though that it's died off.
I saw them open for Primus with Buckethead, Incubus, and Primus. It was pretty cool. It was impressive.
Primus is a tough band to listen to in large doses. They're great for about 15 minutes, and then because it's just
I know what you mean. Absolutely.
It's like an acid jazz band that does really, really well for a while, and their good songs are fantastic.
When the song starts going into its 13th minute,
yeah, they do New Year's Eve every year here, Primus.
Yeah, and
New Year's Eve with Primus every year in Oakland. Yeah.
Another band that does that to me is King Crimson. About maybe 15 years ago, I went and saw King Crimson with Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp sits sideways in a chair, not facing the audience, with all this gear in front of him and just does wild, guitar riffs, one right after another. And after about 15 minutes, it all just melted into the same thing.
And there's no women at that show at all, right?
No. I sat behind Les Claypool at a Tool show. It was Tool and Robert Fripp opening up, and Robert Fripp basically sat on stage with his guitar and a theremin for like 20 minutes and just made weird space noises, and then jumped off stage. And like an hour later, Tool came on at the Berkeley Community Center up there in Berkeley, California.
Yeah, on campus. Yeah,
in front of me, I was sitting with a couple of folks from Tool's management, and in front of me were Les Claypool, Sammy Hagar, and James Hetfield. It was a weird, it was the strangest murderer's row of celebrity. We were like fourth row, and our seats were only one row behind Hetfield and Claypool and Hagar. I don't know why all the three of them were there, but those are the three most incongruous people you could ask for to go to a show to be ended up sitting behind.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of thrash metal and fun riffs, I think you signed off last night. I played you a riff last night, man. I'll play it again for you. Ready?
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Don't drop the man.
Any idea?
Don't drop the man. He is the law.
That's right.
I am the law.
I gotta play bits of it. I can't play the whole thing,
I'm not even sure that
even
the algorithm
bits of it
for that song is going to be uploaded.
Yeah.
You're getting pretty deep on that one.
Technically, you don't even have to play the song. Technically, if you even mention lyrics to a song, YouTube will flag you.
Really? Can't say that.
Yeah. It's getting to the point now.
LAW.
It's getting to the point where you just mention a few lyrics to a tune and they pick up what the song is, and yeah.
Well, let me know if you get flagged for those two half riffs.
Okay. And also, Janice, what did you send me, Janice?
Ooh.
Yeah. You sent me a video. Samurai Cab Company? Is that a band? Why did my computer just turn off?
Because you're talking crap about YouTube, man.
Yeah, it just shut off. Oh crap!
A lot of people chiming in about Primus and Anthrax.
That'd be a good double bill.
Absolutely, I'm sure they've played together at some point.
Bass player band.
Thrash Metal says he's uploading Damage Incorporated tomorrow. Jesus.
Uploading for what?
I guess in his YouTube covers. So how do these guys get away with it, Johnny, when they upload straight covers of songs? You know?
They actually don't.
They just don't get money from it. They don't get monetized.
It used to be easier. I mean, you used to be able to upload covers and nothing happened. Now what happens a lot of times is you upload a cover and what'll happen is basically the publisher of that song will claim that, and they'll put a link to like the Amazon and iTunes link of that actual song in your video. Like it'll be just sitting there.
And that's fine. I don't think people would complain about that, you know.
No. Why did my computer restart? That's weird. It just turned off.
Guys, we're 2 minutes out from the time change here.
Oh, let's watch it.
Well, a minute and
2 minutes
on your end. Oh, on your guys' end it is.
It's
wait, hold on a second. It doesn't. Oh, that's
157
right.
here.
So Johnny, we'll be an hour closer to each other for the next. What?
Unless, wait a minute, did it already go back? Did it already? We've been on for an hour and 40. So this is the first change. So it'll change after
in 2 minutes.
Yeah, in 2 minutes.
Are we gonna watch it?
We're gonna go back in time.
I still think there should be an extra hour of drinking in the bar.
Oh yeah. So wait. So yeah, it's like a minute.
Are we really waiting for this?
Yeah.
This is huge, man. Come on.
Just so you know, Dane and I are just gonna sit here and laugh at all of you time travelers.
40 seconds. Well, and then it'll be a minute too.
Yeah. Oh, we got time.
The only thing that sucks about this with Arizona not observing daylight savings time is that football games now start an hour later. Like they used to start at 10 a.m. here. Now we have to wait till 11.
Wait, you guys don't do this?
Nope.
You lucky sons of bitches.
I think that some of the Indian reservations do, and we have several of them in this state. But we do not, Arizona overall does not observe daylight savings time. And there's an area in the Midwest in like Indiana or something that also doesn't. I don't know why.
It's like certain counties in certain states don't do it.
So we're starting in a minute. We will be officially mountain time for the next 6 months.
30 seconds.
Then we become
I'm
Pacific
showing.
time.
Are you going to show it?
I'll have to now.
Are you going to show it on the screen? Okay. All right, we'll do this. Yeah, actually, a lot of times when this would happen, I would. Oh, it just turned off. I would actually film it and upload it. So I actually have a couple videos on my channel here of me doing the same thing you're doing.
It's gonna go off again.
Let's keep touching the screen.
There it is.
Watched it.
We missed it.
We missed it.
Damn it! I have to wait till next year. Son of a bitch.
Take two.
So now it's 1 o'clock.
It's only 1 o'clock.
So what does that mean?
What is?
What time was it before?
It was 1:59 and it went to 1.
It means we do the show for an extra hour, Johnny.
Yep.
No, it means it's really 2 o'clock.
No, it means it's really 1 o'clock.
It's 1 o'clock now. So you
Jay,
should be.
Jay, are you in Eastern time as well?
Yes.
Okay.
South Kakalaki.
Kakalaki.
Yeah, I think they should just do away with daylight savings.
12, 1, 2. It's 11 o'clock here.
I think there was a bill presented for that. There you go.
Primus and Incubus.
Incubus sounds like a metal band name, like it should be a death metal band name, and it should be.
And then you hear the song "Drive."
Yeah, it should be written out.
It is a cool song. I like that.
Well, I think there is like a death metal band or something named like Incubus Succubus.
Yeah, and of course their logo looks like a pile of twigs thrown in the middle of a driveway.
Yes, all those bands, man. Funny.
Since I'm going through ticket stubs, it's actually just past the anniversary of a very sad date in Van Halen history. Paul, I don't know if maybe you went to this show. I wasn't able to go, but I got I still have the unused ticket.
I may have gone to that show. Hold on, I'm now breaking out tickets.
October 30th, just passed 91. I was not able to go to this show, but I have the full ticket still. Sadly.
So you got a full ticket stub. You got a full ticket stub and a library book.
What was the year when Alice in Chains opened up for him?
I did. Well, the story is, I mean, I actually saw them in Providence like 2 weeks before this, so I did get to see them. But the Providence show went on sale, and then like a couple weeks later, the Worcester show went on sale. I got the ticket, but I wasn't able to get a ride at the time. So
$22.50. Man,
I'm looking at. I saw Aerosmith on New Year's Eve at the Boston Garden for $25.
What was that? 88.
89.
89. I think they filmed the Angel video at the Boston Garden.
It was great because the Bruins were playing while Aerosmith were on stage. So they brought down a big screen and pulled out a remote control, and Steven Tyler was going through, because it's Tom Hamilton's birthday. He was born on New Year's Eve. So they were looking for some place to get the ball dropped so we could all celebrate Tom Hamilton's birthday. Or maybe he was born on New Year's Day. Either way, they were trying to get the ball dropped. And while they were flipping through the channels, the hockey game came on and the place went shit.
Nice. That's cool.
So we all just sat and watched like 5 minutes of the Bruins game during an Aerosmith show, which was kind of neat. Just look at, I got a Christmas card from Doro Pesh here.
So what was the thing with the Van Halen show on the 30th of October?
I bought the I bought the ticket. I just didn't have a ride.
You said some bad something in Van Halen. What was it? What'd you say?
Because I wasn't able to go to the show. It was a sad night.
It's a sad night in Van Halen history because John Biel couldn't go.
And they missed the opportunity to perform in front of a guy who
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Of that performance.
But
oh man,
Eddie just wasn't himself that night. He knew he wasn't there, and
yep. John would not be able to recreate the stage from that evening.
They had to drag Eddie out of the dressing room.
Paul, were you at that one?
I was.
So you guys were in the same place.
Holy crap. And then there's one more.
I was at that show too.
Yep.
I think I have that one on tape.
now pull out the Oz Festival 1983 ticket.
Oh man! All right, I do have that.
We were in the same place.
I wasn't really there.
Hey John, you have the ticket, so you could say you were, man.
Yeah, I posed with that ticket, man.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Good record. Brad,
outside the United States, that record is called "Talk of the Devil."
I love the version of Paranoid that Brad, the way Brad plays it.
Oh God.
For some reason, I have a bunch of records set in that back here.
Ozzy's album covers were great. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's got a mouthful of cranberry sauce.
Those look like off the shelf, like Spencer's Gifts, Dracula teeth right there.
Yeah.
Magic shop.
Ozzy didn't have a big budget in 1982.
Right?
Any budget.
Oh man.
Glen Helen Regional Park. Park. My voice cracks as much as Dave's does.
Yep.
May as well put that with the rest of my stubs.
John Stubbs BL.
Stubbs. You're like, no, I'm not gonna say that.
No.
I actually was at the US Festival in 1983. And
were you?
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last time?
We did. We talked about it. And the first band, Quiet Riot, never heard of them. Had no idea who they were. Guys were wearing Bang Your Head t-shirts. I had no idea what that was all about. And then the second band, Motley Crue, I had no idea who they were. Never heard of them. But they played, like I said, they played Helter Skelter. So I'm like, wow, they're doing a Beatles tune. How cool.
But everybody thought they were a bunch of chicks up there, I'm sure, at first. Who's these chicks up there, man? They're pretty hot. Dude, it's Motley Crue. Oh, yeah, I knew that.
That's like the first time you saw Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In. You're like, oh, yeah, I'd bang this band.
I like to give them my poison. Dude, they're dudes, man.
No, I knew that. I was just
as women. Poison wasn't the first guys to do it, man. That started back in the 70s with like David Bowie and Slade and that English stuff. Those guys were doing that.
But wasn't the cover?
And what's Buster Poindexter back when was
the New York Dolls.
Yeah.
But the cover of that album, is that the one where they're all like the four of them?
Yeah.
And is CeCe DeVille the first one to do the duck face?
Might be. Well, Paul Stanley did it.
That's true. That's true.
Paul Stanley did the duck lips thing on several occasions. But like, if you didn't flip that record over, I've got it here somewhere. If you didn't flip that record over, you'd be like, oh yeah. Yeah, which one of the chicks in Poison do you want to do?
Which one would you pick, bro?
That's it.
Did you guys listen to this old stuff from back in the 70s? The Pat Travers Band.
I did not.
I've seen that album. I've seen that.
That's a cool cover.
He's got that Les Paul Jr. on the front cover, and he's like in some, I guess it's some manager's, old manager's office or something. And then on the back, just the old man's all tore up and everything. But I went and saw Pat Travers Band down at the Rhythm Room in Phoenix 3 or 4 years ago. And I took a couple of records, and he did a little meet and greet at the end of the show. And there was only 50 people at the bar or something. But I asked him, I said, hey, I wanted to kind of come up with some sort of conversation. I said, hey, the Putting It Straight album, the Red Junior that you played, do you still have that guitar? And he said, no, I don't have that guitar, but I know who has it.
John Mancuda.
And I'm like, well, why did you sell that album? Or why did you sell the guitar? And he goes, well, I got in a little IRS problem, so I sold some stuff. But he's a Canadian, so I don't know how he could have gotten IRS difficulties.
Is that Martin Scorsese in the background?
I know.
Who's that old guy?
He did sign this one for me.
Oh, it's all different one. Yeah, there's a couple different people.
But he said that he still knows where that guitar is at. And he said it's in New York. And I said, is it at a pawn shop in New York? And he goes, no, it's not at a pawn shop, but I know where it's at. And I'm like, are you going to buy it back? Go get it? And he's like, yeah, no, I don't. I should go get that. And so I kind of talked him into it. I don't know if he's ever made it back to pick up that guitar or not, but
that'd be cool.
You went on your album cover.
Get his guitar back.
Wow.
All right, gentlemen.
Let's see these hot chicks.
It's time for you to admit you would.
Closer.
Which one?
Oh, it's definitely CeCe.
No, it's got to be Ricky.
No.
Look at those
lips. Maybe Ricky. Maybe you're right.
What is it? Say cat. A cat.
Ricky looks like a fat chick.
With the cat.
They all look like guys to me.
What, they all have nicknames. What is? Oh, the cat. Look with the cat drag. Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, Ricky Rocket looks like a chubby chick. You're right.
Yeah. She does. Yeah.
So you look at she looks like Tracy Lords.
CeCe's a bleach blonde.
Wait, 16-year-old Tracy Lords or?
So you're looking at this and you're like, you see this album cover, you're like, oh, this is awesome. These chicks look great, and then you go, holy shit, I like guys.
Well, at the time that was extreme. That was a huge deal. I just remember everybody thinking the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it's like these guys look like chicks, but they just went with it, and it was a huge marketing thing with that, with especially Poison.
Yeah.
Poison.
I think we can top it, though. I think I have one that tops it.
I wonder what they think when they look back at that. Like, what the
right? It was clearly intentional. They knew what they were doing.
Well, when you put that much hairspray in your hair, you know what you're doing.
Right.
Let's take it another step further.
They probably think about how profitable that record was.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they probably think of how many like butt cheeks they got looking like that too. Because chicks are into dudes that look like
that chick. Look at that chick, huh? That chick's pretty hot, right?
Is that Sebastian Bach?
No.
Skid Row?
That's one of the chicks.
No?
In Enough's Enough! You're gay!
damn.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that one was like
John Cantley.
funny that was a chick.
In there.
That's one of the chicks in Enough's Enough. You should question yourself.
Yeah, I would have told her.
Who's the guy in Tommy Boy? Paul, I bet you could do a good Tommy Boy impersonation.
Fat guy in little coat.
I'm not going to take heckling from the Crypt Keeper.
Go put on a little tiny jacket and do the little
Oh
big
my
man
God.
little jacket routine for it.
Do you guys not like each other?
Here's the difference. I can lose weight.
Do you guys know each other?
You still want to play, Dan? You still want to throw those dice?
When was the last time they did an album cover like that?
What the?
What is that?
Wow.
That's the Scorpions.
Animal Magnetism, right?
Love
Oh,
Drive.
Love Drive.
What is he holding though?
He's pulling her heart out, I think.
I think it's got a handful of bubble gum.
Yeah.
Oh, it's getting
satin
sticky.
gum.
You said gum? Oh, gum. What's on the back of that? Oh.
So let's see. Well, they're back.
Oh, Johnny's gonna get flagged now.
But look, you can see a boob.
Why is he going to get flagged?
Oh yeah, you can see a jug.
There's a booby there, yeah. By the way, Renus Pinkle, Vixen do not look like men. My friend Brittany is the guitar player in Vixen. Feel free to Google Brittany Denaro and tell me if that looks like a man.
And the original bass player from Vixen is Steve Vai's wife.
Cher Peterson?
That's right, yeah.
No.
This had that song "Loving You Sunday Morning," which kind of helped the Scorps. I think it kind of helped them break into American radio. Paul would probably know better. But I think this was kind of a breakthrough American album for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they did, Loving You Sunday Morning, and then, of course, The Zoo.
Was
where
the Zoo on this one?
No, I think The Zoo is on Animal Magnetism. I could be wrong.
Oh, this had Holiday on it, too.
Yeah. Now, John, can you show that video, or are we going to get flagged for that?
Another piece of meat.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Video. This one?
Video that's running behind you.
Well, I hope you don't get flagged for it. I can't play the audio, I'm sure. It's Quiet Riot at the US Festival.
I know what it is.
Oh, remember there was one time you played what the hell? It was like a music video for something.
What? We're gonna get
Flagged for it.
Yeah, even just showing the video of that, we can get busted. You were showing you showed Queen one time.
That's what it was.
And I woke up the next day to the video getting a boo boo because of
Boo.
Can't get away with nothing.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, it's Pia Moliko.
Yeah, her name.
She's Steve Vai's wife.
So what was she in Vixen? Was she like
She was in Vixen from just 84, it says.
Just 84?
On the 84 Hard Bodies soundtrack and 2018 Rare Vintage.
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah, my friend Brittany is the guitar player now in Vixen. And they actually have a guy in the band too, a kid named Tyson Leslie, who I knew out of Kansas City. He's like their road manager, and he plays keyboards for him. So he's the ugliest chick in Vixen.
Well, nowadays, who knows?
My friend Brittany started out in a band in Boston called Jaded, and she's a super, super talented guitar player, and not too tough on the eyes at all. But her talent trumps her looks, and her looks are really good. You'd like to just Google. I know John's looking at it right now. Brittany Denaro.
He's reading that book.
He's messaging her.
Denaro. Brittany Denaro, and she is good looking, and can play.
No, I'm looking at that guitar you got there. What is that? A Carvin?
Dane's Carvin.
Looking through my Carvin catalog to see if there was a V in there. I haven't seen a Carvin V.
No, Fruitcake Tony. Vi's wife, her name is Pia.
Yeah, Pia Vi was the first bass player, or Pia before she was Vi.
Rico wants to know how old that Carvin is.
I have no idea.
Way to go.
I honestly don't. I don't know anything about it. I bought this about 2 or 3 years ago, and I brought it home, and it just kind of hangs out here.
That's one of the beauties for those in the chat that don't realize. Dane owns a guitar store here in Phoenix. He does used guitars, and anything that's really good, he takes home.
And Carvins are hard to research.
It's good. It looks like an old Carvin logo.
What if you called them? Well, don't call. Well, never mind. Don't tell them you know me. Just put it that way.
I heard the one synapse in your brain fire right
There's
there.
the toll-free number.
You're like, beep, 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 beep.
It's a real piece of shit. It is.
Oh, God.
Is it a neck through or a bolt on?
It's neck through. I'm embarrassed to even take that thing down to the shop. I don't want nobody to see that.
Are you kidding me? That's far from the most embarrassing guitar hanging in your
Seriously.
shop.
Oh, that's funny.
I'd rather try to sell some Squires.
They're probably an easier sale. Like, Jay, you'll love this being an Ibanez fan.
Please don't call it that.
He's got a couple of Ibanez Vs, Jackson Vs, the offset flying Vs sitting in his shop that are basically lawsuit guitars. They were told they couldn't make them because Jackson held the patent on that body shape. Mm-hmm. He's got like 2 or 3 of them hanging in his shop now.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing that to you.
They've been there a long time, and they don't get any interest, man. You know, waiting for the right 50-year-old guy that wants to relive his,
Well, back when that was new, that was probably a $1,000 guitar anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No,
Probably
Possible.
I mean, wasn't that sort of like the low end on Carvins?
Does Carvin have a high end? Boom!
Well, I don't know if there's any prices in here.
Yeah, there's prices in there, wasn't there? Those old Talus.
Love Talus. There you go. There's a nice little Talus reference. Big band out of Buffalo, New York, featuring a young Billy Sheehan.
Yeah, I guess they were in like the like $700 to $1,000 range.
And when Van Halen first saw Billy Sheehan play, because didn't Talus open up for Van Halen at one time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 81.
And they were going to just kick Michael Anthony out and put Billy Sheehan in the band.
That's the legend.
Yeah, Billy Sheehan does not. I don't think has he ever said it?
No, Billy will deny all of that because Billy has a ton of class.
Yes.
And that's, he won't talk shop about stuff like that, which is, again, to his credit. We're in an industry full of people who are willing to sling mud. Billy never has, ever. He's always speaks positively about his experience in Roth. He speaks about he's a positive guy. He's a Scientologist. And dated, I think he dated, who was the porn star that died? Hang on a second.
Savannah.
Savannah, yeah. He and
Pauly
Savannah
Shore
were
dated her.
I think that's
Slash date her as well.
Billy Sheehan,
possibly,
right?
yeah.
No, not Billy Sheehan.
No, Billy Sheehan did date her.
No, I was saying Slash didn't. Never mind. I was.
Slash didn't date Billy Sheehan, no.
No, there you go.
As far as you know.
Yeah,
But
she
he is
the old.
Yeah, I think so. I think she did. She took the Wendy-O route.
Wasn't she hanging out with like David Lee Roth like that night or something? Or one of those guys?
It's possible.
I saw some sort of story on that. Tony.
That whole scene out there was sort of nuts at that time. You know, we all looked up to that, like that's where we wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. Tony, hey, hello to Steve Rosen. Yeah. Yeah, Steve, if you're watching this, man, we want to see you again soon, man.
Yeah, that was fun with him. We had a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Great interview.
Man. Steve Rosen. Awesome. Amazing stories.
Is Talus not on?
They put out a compilation. It's called Billy Sheehan, the Talus Years. So I think Billy owns the masters and stuff like that to that band stuff. It has the High Speed on Ice. The Sink Your Teeth Into That record and Live Speed on Ice, which is the live record they put out.
I think Shy Boy is on this record.
Shy Boy is on Sink Your Teeth Into That. It's track 2.
I'm seeing.
So that was one of his songs?
Side 1.
Yeah,
Shy Boy was it was a Billy Sheehan song.
Yep. Shy Boy might be after the solo actually. Oh no, High Speed on Ice I think is after the solo.
Yep.
So he never put that record out, huh? On it's not on any digital media.
Unless Talus is or Billy Sheehan has if Billy Sheehan has it under his name.
I just looked on all. He has a couple albums on there, but none of those songs are on there.
Yeah, Compression. I have Compression, and let's see if I can find the record. This is what you want to look for.
Oh man. Well, it might be 124 here, but it feels like
224.
Jesus.
Johnny, I found this. I was looking for this a couple of weeks ago, but this is a good read. I started reading it. Cool skull neck interview.
He just did the national anthem at the Chicago Bulls game.
Yeah.
Really? That's awesome.
I was scrolling through. I've got him as a friend on Facebook, and I saw he posted a video of that.
All right, if you're into Talus, you'll go for the first one, which is Talus featuring Billy Sheehan, which you can still find on CD somewhere. And then this is the one that has the record that, excuse me, Dane was just showing, Billy Sheehan, the Talus Years, and it has both the, you can't see any of the print, but that has the record. It's called Sink Your Teeth Into That, and then Live Speed on Ice, which was a live album. And then they did a reunion album, which is called If We Knew Then What We Knew Now. So there is some Talus material out there. And then he's got a couple of solo records.
Was Richie Kotzen on that?
No, Richie Kotzen's not on any of it. Although I do have the Richie Kotzen, Billy Sheehan, Mr. Big records, which are fantastic. Richie Kotzen is super underrated.
Soda and Milk wants to know who the singer was in Talus.
I know the guitar player was a kid named Varga, Paul Varga.
Talus opened for Van Halen in 80 throughout October of 1980.
Dave Constantino.
Yep, Dave Constantino.
Looks like they toured with him through Oakland, through a lot of California, Nebraska. Talus.
I actually saw them open for Yngwie. And it made me really want to go home and practice. It was one of those kind of shows where I was like, oh, man, these guys are so good. It's unbelievable. Made you want to just go home and practice. Where you go to an old Van Halen show, and that made you want to go out and party. You'd want to throw a party after that.
Oh, I was too excited every time I saw Van Halen live. I was, I couldn't believe that I'd just seen them, in person,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that was the band. I mean, still is,
The worst thing is the next day trying to remember a show. Like if you've seen a great show and it's like you try and remember, like, I mean, it was such an experience at the time, and you lost everything else.
Yeah, it was like overwhelming. Like,
yeah,
take it all in.
Yeah.
I remember seeing, you guys remember when Queensryche opened for Metallica, the Justice for All tour? I seen that, and Queensryche's on stage, and I guess that was 1986 or 87, and that show was just, I had to absorb Queensryche. And a neighbor that, a guy that I knew happened to be at the show, and Queensryche's right in the middle of I Don't Believe in Love, or one of their great songs, and I'm just studying it and trying to concentrate, and this neighbor guy's like, hey, Dane, how you doing, man? Isn't this great? And he just wanted to talk to me, and I'm like, dude, watch the show. I'm trying to,
God. It's more likely 1989. Both those records came out in 88.
Yeah. In 88, where did you see them? Because they opened in 88.
I saw them at the Coliseum in Phoenix, Arizona, down at the Coliseum.
So, yep, that was December 4th, 88.
Jason Newsted was in the band, and yeah.
Great era and in fact, I watched a little bit of Seattle 89 the other night. Was it 89? 89, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you go to a show and you just want to party. But other times I would go to a show and it's somebody that I really wanted to actually listen to and see what it was all about. And Queensryche was so huge when that Operation Mindcrime album came out, and then the Empire album. That stuff was huge back in my book. That was incredible. How'd they do that,
The Empire is my favorite Queensryche album. It's one of my favorite all-time albums.
Best I Can is one of my favorite Queensryche tunes.
The sound of it and the songwriting and DeGarmo, it's like, oh my God.
Did you like his Slaves to the System record?
I you know what? I listened to what was the EP he did with one of the guys from Alice in Chains, right?
He did a record called Slave to the System with Damon Johnson from Brother Kane.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that on? Let's see if that's on Spotify.
Good luck. That record probably sold less than your band. That's not a shot at you at all.
It's
a lot of laughter.
There's an audience. We do have an audience.
Yeah, it's almost 80 watching right now.
Wow.
There you go, Jay. I don't know why I own this, but I do. Slave to the System.
Oh, wow.
And so who exactly is in that band?
This was... I got to pull on my cheaters now because I'm old. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
It's story time.
It's Kelly Gray, Damon Johnson, Roman Glick, so Damon and Roman from Brother Kane, and Scott Rockenfield.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't Kelly Gray in Candlebox? Then he was a producer, and I thought he was... Wait, he was a producer, and then he was in Queensryche for a bit too, wasn't he?
Yeah, so it's basically Queensryche and Brother Kane put out an album together. So there's somebody for you. And the single was called Stigmata. And you've never heard it.
What was the Brother Kane tune that sort of got a bunch of radio play there for a while?
The
Full Shine On
soundtrack.
And Full Shine On was a massive song. It was the biggest song, I think, of 1994.
Great tune.
It's on the Wishpool CD. I think. Might be on Seeds. Not sure. I have all the Brother Kane too. Brother Kane was a fantastic band.
Oh, Burn Down Sacred Ground.
No, that's Cry of Love.
Oh.
Cry of Love's Peace Pipe.
It's Phil Mosley music.
As you may have gathered, I have a little bit of a music collection.
Oh, just a tiny bit.
Did you buy that live, the last Van Halen album, the double album live from Tokyo Dome or whatever it was?
Mm-hmm.
You own that record?
It's the last CD I bought.
Yeah.
I bought it.
I think so. Me too.
It's in my car.
I bought that brand new the day it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't listened to it in 5 years.
Oh.
You know what's funny is
mine is unopened.
All this, but I think the best,
mine is unopened.
Song on that live Van Halen album is Pretty Woman. It sounds just like the record. Everything else, Dave is just somewhere else. But Pretty Woman sounds great.
It's worth it just for Pretty Woman. Go and buy it.
The song kicks in, dun 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 dun, and you can hear Dave. He says, "I know this song," and he kind of comes in singing. Yeah.
Spies for Darwin.
Oh yeah. I may have that somewhere.
Short-lived project featuring members from Seattle-based groups Queensryche and Alice in Chains, as well as the frontman of Sponge. No shit.
Sponge. What was their hit? They had a hit.
Oh,
Mark
dude.
Taylor. Yeah, Plowed and Molly were two big songs. Mark Taylor, the Queensryche singer, is Todd LaTorre. He was in a band called Crimson Glory in Florida.
This was the first thing DeGarmo did when he left after he left Queensryche in '98.
Well, he also played on Boggy Depot too, the Jerry Cantrell record.
That was his solo record, right?
Yeah, they put out a 2 CD like extended version of that record, which is pretty good.
I remember the first time I saw that. That's when I was living at Desmond Child's house, and I was in his office, just walking around, and I saw the CD sitting there, and I picked it up, and it was Jerry Cantrell, and it's him. He's like standing in a lake or something, right? He's like no shirt on, or right, something like that.
Yeah, he had 2 solo records, Degradation Trip and Boggy Depot.
I remember looking at that and being like, wow, because Desmond, he got all the records. I mean, like every record you could think of was sitting there on his desk, Everybody was giving him records.
He wrote a bunch of stuff on this record, didn't he? Desmond Child?
He probably did, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote a bunch of stuff for Kiss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I Was Made for Loving You was probably the biggest, I would think. Actually, he has a record out, Desmond. He just put a record out. Huh?
The first one that he put out by himself was terrible.
Huh? Well, no, he just put one out.
Oh, did he?
It just came out the other day. Yeah. Yeah, it's a live record. It's him singing all those songs.
Oh, all the songs that he wrote?
All the songs that he wrote, yeah.
Fruitcake Tony says, Jay, you're a big Metallica guy. When I saw Metallica in '88 at Monsters of Rock, how long at that point had Cliff Burton been deceased? September of '86 was when
a
Cliff
little
Burton
over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yeah.
Bus fell on him twice.
Twice?
Well,
Twice.
it fell on him. He went out the window. The bus fell on him. And then I guess when they were trying to lift the bus up with the crane or whatever the hell it was.
The ice slipped. Yeah,
slipped and.
He lived through the first one. Actually, he was.
Is that right? Oh, I was going to say.
No.
He was alive, and while they were trying to rescue
God.
him, the second one crushed him. It's
one of
the most inglorious rock and roll deaths of all time. It sucks.
Well, I just read something about the Lynyrd Skynyrd thing where Aerosmith refused to take the plane that they, had the crash on. Like days just before the crash, Aerosmith was offered that plane and they refused to take it.
What's the reason they refused? They just didn't want to.
They didn't, or maybe it was their management, whoever inspected it and said this isn't, And there's a whole, you can read up on that, and like they were the pilots were partying, and according to all different,
Oh no.
There's all kinds of. I don't know if it's rumor. There's all kinds of stories behind the Skynyrd.
John, let's get John Beale on top of that. What, John Beale? What happened?
You want me to find the story?
Get John Beale on top, man.
I think there's a full Wikipedia article about the.
Our investigative reporter John Beale will tell us exactly what happened during the crash.
John Stubbs Beale.
Stubbs.
I know. I was going to say something there.
1977.
Look at Johnny Beane. Listen.
I was going to say something about that, about him putting the ticket putting the ticket in his pocket next to his stub. That's what I was going to say.
What?
Very similar story with regard to the Randy Rhoads plane. Never a good idea to get in a plane with a guy who's been doing coke and drinking all night.
Weren't they just like doing like tricks on purpose, like they were doing loops and stuff?
They were trying to wake
purpose?
Ozzy up.
Yeah.
They were trying to buzz the bus to see if they could get their landing gear to hit the bus. Success.
Oh.
And Rudy Sarzo was asleep in the house at the same time, too, taking a nap.
Oh my gosh.
It says, upon realizing that this is the Skynyrd crash, upon realizing that the plane had insufficient fuel, the pilots attempted to navigate to the local airport 10 miles away. Eventually, soon they realized that they weren't going to make it. The last resort, they attempted an emergency landing in an open field 300 yards from where the plane eventually went down. Despite, skidded 100 yards. Yeah, so I mean.
And didn't their album, the album that was out or was coming out, had a cover of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then what happened? They replaced that cover.
The
afterwards.
people that had flames on them were the ones that
front cover.
What?
Yeah, they made a bunch of copies of this, and then months later.
Wait a minute, John Beale, what'd you say?
That was the rumor, that the people who had flames next on them or in them on the picture were the ones that passed. I don't know if that's true, but
it's not true.
No.
Artemis Pyle is right there with flames above his head, and he's alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, what a great name, Artemis Pyle.
Where is this Artemis right here?
He's the drummer,
the drummer.
Over to your left. Here, one more.
Oh, that guy
in the blue, yeah.
Now he actually walked out of the wreckage, covered in blood, walked to the neighborhood farmhouse, and knocked on the door. And the guy came out of the door with a gun and more or less said, "Get off of my property."
Similar story. It's that the story is that the guys came on to him, still alive in the wreckage, and he walked out and tried to get help. Those guys to go get help.
Yeah.
Artemis Pyle, it says this just talks about
Vistalite, the story you're trying to tell has nothing to do with the Ace of Spades. It's the shortest straw.
So these are our guitar players over here, right? These two guys. Rosington.
Which guys died in the crash?
Well, the lead singer Van Zant right here died.
Just one?
No, and one of the guitarists, the youngest, on
in the middle.
With the red.
Yeah,
in the red.
The three guys in the middle died.
This guy here, though, talk about a great keyboard player. You want to talk about great keyboard players? This guy right here,
Billy, what's his name?
Billy Powell.
Billy Powell. Yeah.
Right. Wow, that guy was a great keyboard player. And he like hung out with the band for like the first 2 or 3 years that the band, you know, they were out playing gigs and everything. And he was classically trained piano player. And then just they were messing around with Freebird. And for some reason, he sat behind a piano and just started playing Freebird. And he just blew them away. And they were like, oh, my God, why didn't you tell us you play keyboards that good? He's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, so it's kind of weird that he joined the band.
It says, it was later discovered, this is the Aerosmith quote, that the very same aircraft that had earlier been inspected by members of Aerosmith flight crew for possible use in their 77 American tour, but it was rejected because they felt neither the plane nor the crew were up to standards. Aerosmith's assistant chief of flight operations, blah, 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 said that the pilots were sharing bottles of Jack Daniels while he and his father inspected the plane. So, issues.
Wow.
Here's my Skinner pass. Ugh. But they're still a good live band, even when they did their reunion tour back in the 90s.
G. Bucknoff asking, come on, guys, you don't know the story of Leonard Skinner? Yeah, I do. I also know how to spell it.
Leonard.
Anybody who calls it Leonard Skinnerd, that's
Hey, G.
that bothers me.
Leonard.
G. I hope to see you in January, man.
Oh, well, I got to go to bed.
It's only 1:43.
I know. And I was talking all that smack last night. Oh, we can do an extra hour because we got daylight savings. Well,
yeah, I know. I can't do the extra thing. I've got a rehearsal at noon.
You got a nooner?
Times is hard. Noon.
Yeah.
You got a nooner.
Rehearsal at noon, but I have to be up at 7 because of the rooster, you know.
The rooster.
One of our hens thinks she's a rooster now. She crows too. So
Man.
Well, the good news is we only have 15 minutes left. If we actually
yeah.
end at what is that?
What is that? That's a big girl.
Don't you
This
have
is
real
my
dogs?
American Eskimo.
Oh my God.
And she's probably at least 12 years old or something. She's an old girl.
oh.
She had puppies
Oh.
once, though. And I sold one of her puppies for $500.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's a cutie.
Yep. She howls a lot.
She got a little fox in her. Looks like
Yeah,
a little like a foxy.
Oh, that's right. She don't like to be picked up, unlike my other dog.
What's that bass behind you, Dane?
All right, before you guys get too deep into stuff,
Oh, man.
What?
I'm
This
sweating.
is a bass that.
Hey, shut up.
Take Jay, take it easy. Thanks,
Good
man.
night, everybody.
Jay's
Good night,
tapping out.
Jay.
Is this Squire or is it a Mexican?
It's a Squire.
This is a real cheapest guitar. This walked into my store, and I think I gave some kid $20 for it.
Oh my God.
And I did I sort of did some work to it, where the kid already had the detox sticker on here, and he's got 420 on here, like with glue
Wow.
or something.
Oh, we don't know what that is.
It looks like
Guitar.
With splooge.
And it's got really bad tuners. But once you kind of get it in tune, I've taken this to gigs.
I've got a Squire bass. That's the bass only bass that I have. It's a good bass.
I have no problems playing this thing. I'm 100% content playing a cheap bass. If I set and tighten the truss rod a little and kind of set it up, take a lot of sandpaper to the neck and just rub this thing.
slower.
No, don't knock those Squires. They made some good guitars.
All right, Ingve, settle down.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a fun bass. Yeah. So yeah, it's a fun
And
bass.
which EVH is that next to you? Is that a
That is
Frankie or?
Yeah, it's just a little parts guitar.
It's an attempt at
A
Frankie.
nice. Oh,
Just a little. It's Squire stuff.
that's nice though. Looks like it's well done.
And it has a
I like
my
the
good
reverse.
friend, Jim Torgeson, that was in an 80s band called Virgin. They used to play the Sunset Strip and everything. He imported these guitars. This is sort of like his brand, Soquel Guitar Works. And I came across the neck one day and I stuck it on a Squire body. And my old guitar player painted it for me. And it doesn't have a Floyd Rose on it. And the quarter's the wrong year. And, you know,
Johnny, isn't that where you live, SoCal?
yeah.
Yeah, I live in Soquel. Yeah. Is that a real quarter?
Yes, it is a real quarter.
What year was the Ed quarter? 72, 71?
I think this quarter says 84 on it.
Anyway.
Oh,
I believe it's 71, but I could be wrong.
yeah. I think it's 71. Yeah.
And again, what's the big story?
I have the magazine. I don't know. It's somewhere in this.
According to Rolling Stone, PJ O'Rourke knows what's really wrong with Europe.
And Jay Leno is very involved.
You know
Well,
what's
look at
really
that.
What's really wrong with Europe is the final countdown is played at every sporting event. That's what's wrong with Europe.
But if you look at this band and then you watch the 1986 Live Without a Net concert, Eddie was probably at his very best.
Here comes the response.
Yeah. But you know what? When I saw Van Halen in 2015, and Eddie did about a 12-minute guitar solo, and he was really, really good. I don't know if it was 1986 Eddie, but he was really, really good.
1986 Eddie was wired to the teats.
July 3rd, 86.
John BL. You got that right there. There it is.
Yep, July 3rd, 86.
Oh, there's the Marlboro Man on the back.
477.
Now, are we going to get flagged for the rebroadcast of a Johnny Beane?
man.
Yeah, I know.
The Rolling Stone cover is going to get us flagged.
Hey, John, push play on that video over there.
I got another one. It's kind of fun.
It's not a video. That's actually a Zlozauer still.
No, of me.
Thanks, Fruitcake. That's very kind.
Oh, can you see that? Oh,
Yeah.
somehow my I got turned there.
Oh, thankfully it's. Wait a minute. Why am I on there?
It's on the right monitor. That's the Spank Bank one.
Why is he embarrassed that I'm on his monitor? Yeah.
I'm not
He's
embarrassed.
researching you, Johnny, to make sure that you're being accurate. He's making sure that you don't say anything that
I play that on my channel and then I get flagged.
Why am I paused at that second?
That's the very beginning of the show. That's because I don't want to watch the live show on a delay while I'm talking and watching people.
Hey, Laverna. How's the guitar going?
I always wonder, like, when I go back to check and see if the live show, how it's doing. I know it's catching up. And I'm like, oh, we only got 2 hours of the show. And then the next day, it's back. The whole show is there.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes a while
for it to catch up.
It takes a while to process.
Yeah.
Like when I hit stop, when I go inside and I look at it, it says processing. And then it'll show like the last 2 hours, and then eventually it'll show, the whole deal.
This was my sister's 9th birthday when this magazine came out. July 3rd.
How old is she now?
Well, if this was her 9th, let's do the math. If this was July 3rd, 86, and it was her 9th birthday, when was she born?
76.
I'm not doing that.
77.
Yes. And also, so what was the top album of that week?
Of 1977?
No, of this week.
1986.
So she's 42.
Probably still. It was probably still Thriller.
Is that even on the chart? July 3rd of 86. What was the top album?
Oh, I'm gonna say it was. If it's not Van Halen, 5150, I'm gonna say it's like Madonna.
Van Halen was number 2 that week.
Oh, 86.
July 3rd of 1986.
What was the Madonna? Papa Don't Preach? Was that the record?
You're going in the right direction, Johnny, but it's not Madonna.
Whitney Houston.
There you go.
Probably, yeah.
Whitney Houston. Well, what's the song? We got to figure. What's the album?
I Want to Dance with Somebody.
It's just Whitney, isn't it? Is that the name of the album? Yeah, Whitney Houston.
Mm-hmm. And she's going to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Probably.
Like I was saying, she's going to be in there.
No, she has to go in, and whether we like it or not, she has to go in. She's arguably the biggest artist of her era.
Madonna had the number 1 single that week with Live to Tell. I don't know.
Oh, Live to Tell. That's the movie. That's from a movie.
And
right?
Whitney's single was the what is it?
The greatest love of all. Greatest love of all.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned.
That's funny. Back when that used to matter, I mean, they broke it down into everything: U.S. singles, dance tracks, British albums, British singles, college albums. 10 years ago, so 76.
Oh man,
what was the number 1 album in 76?
Hotel California.
Well, yeah, that was number 6.
Kiss Alive.
Greatest hit.
Boston.
Nope.
Boston was a big record.
Diana Ross was number 10.
Frampton Comes Alive.
Frampton was number 3.
What about Kiss Alive?
No Kiss. Doobie Brothers number 8. Elton John 9.
What's the initials? What's the initials of the band?
Fleetwood Mac Rumors.
The Stones was number 1. Well, if TRS would be pretty obvious. The Stones, Paul McCartney with Wings, and Peter Frampton. Nice.
Oh, how has to go out? Oh my goodness.
I have to pee.
Yeah, we all have to go out. Hang on.
I need another drink.
Somebody give me another drink.
What about, let's talk about the member of this band that is not in this photograph.
Steve?
Yeah.
So was that shortly after was that like 90, I don't know, when did he die? 90? Before Vivian was in the band?
Yeah.
What is it, 2 o'clock again? Just about?
The drummer's left arm.
Yeah, that's another tragic rock story right there.
Yeah.
I wish I could read these. Going back and looking at these old magazines, the text is so tiny, I can't even read. I got to get some glasses. I say that every time, but wherever. So yeah, I'm just looking at.
Paul, I'm so glad you're back.
So
I'm back. Why? What happened?
We've been struggling, Dana and I.
Not a damn thing.
What are we talking about? Come on. Tag me.
You guys have all heard of Van Halen live without a net. Anyone heard of Black Crowes without a net?
That's an original title for a concert, I guess. We were talking a little tiny bit about Steve Clark. Definitely.
I was wondering, I wanted to ask you guys, you guys are in the Arizona area. Does anyone anyone know, what's Alice Cooper's band now? The Vampires?
Hollywood Vampires.
Hollywood Vampires. Anyone have a contact for them? Their tour manager is the old lighting director for Van Halen from the mid 80s through the mid 90s. I'm trying to find, I've got his info on LinkedIn, but I can't really get an email address.
Let me when we end the show, or text me, hit me up on Facebook. I would love to just I'd love to, well, ultimately I'd love to get him on the show and to talk about some of the, behind the scenes tech stuff that he obviously went through. But he's also got a huge history of being tour managers, lighting manager, video manager for a bunch of bands. So his name is David Davidoff. Yeah, hit me up, on.
Yeah, and I know you guys
I'll
have.
give you a
have
contact name for Alice's people.
That would be cool.
Put that out.
Definitely.
I don't want to put that contact out.
No, obviously, yeah.
I'll get it for you. Yeah.
But I figured I'd ask you guys.
I've got a friend over at he's got a charity called the Solid Rock Foundation. I'm sure he can get you in touch with the right people.
And go ahead.
No, I was just, you guys were asking about Steve Clark, so I thought we were going to go back there, but finish what you were going to do.
No, I've been slowly, like I was saying earlier, buying stuff to actually make that stage. I've got some Amazon. If it's like you go down a rabbit hole of Amazon things, I'm looking for little things that could make like the stage trussing, the staging, the little platforms and everything like that. And there's actually a company that makes fully 3D printed staging stuff, but it's so expensive. So I found nice little 1/8" plywood, 1/8", really, really tiny plywood, but high quality. And so I can make it into like the little staging pieces, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the full stage. And so I'd love to talk to to David. But is that Madonna? Man,
she had a moment
back in the day. She was something else.
Yeah, you gotta go.
She had the same thing Marilyn Monroe had going for her. She was a little bit on the thick side, but in a good way.
Madonna was on the thick side, or Marilyn was always on
both.
Yeah,
they both. They
were healthy. They were healthy. They weren't like the anorexic girl. They were.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were a little bit thicker than what you would expect a pop star to look like, and yet it was all good.
So that was like the red guitar in the back of my room. So let me see.
That's a Squire, isn't it?
Hey, red guitar. Yeah.
Who was the singer for the Go-Go's? What was her name? Belinda, right?
Carlisle.
Belinda Carlisle.
Yeah,
I had a crush on her for years. She was a little like she had the chipmunk cheeks,
What was the first band Belinda Carlisle was in?
But Jane Weedland was the guitar player, and I had a crush on her.
What was the first band Belinda Carlisle was in? L.A. band.
No, she wasn't in the Runaways or anything, right?
No.
She was in the Germs.
Oh, really? And then Susanna Hoffs, and was it Bananarama?
Susanna Hoffs is beautiful.
Yeah.
Rama Banana? Oh, no, Bananarama.
Ram Jam? Show us that. What do you got? What is that? Is it a sharp?
It's a Squire.
Another Squire.
But it's pink.
It's got no knobs.
No, I know. I just have the, the pickup here to 1 volume, and everything else is just gone. We don't need that.
What kind of Floyd is that? It's a recessed Floyd 1000 or
that's a Floyd Rose 2.
maybe.
Yeah, is it the one where the string? Yeah, it's the one where the strings go in the back here.
Oh, yeah, it's a Floyd 2.
And you hear about the times when you really dive back down far, your string can kind of loosen up in there.
Yeah, those Floyd 2s are not.
It doesn't actually like lock the string.
No.
Wow.
No, they're not locked at all. They slide through the bottom like that.
It makes string change outs easy, but you don't really want to dive bomb with it. You just want to be, nice and easy on it.
I bought one of those off eBay years ago, and I threw it on a guitar, and for me, it just wasn't.
But is it an official Floyd Rose product?
Yeah.
It is.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, the Floyd Rose 2 is what they were called.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a licensed one.
Yeah, it came stock on this Squire. Korean.
Is that a relic or that little spot on the?
It is. It's a chip.
I was going to say, is it a real relic or is it a
It's
factory?
a chip that I just took some sandpaper to. But you can see the primer underneath was black. Or it was painted black first, maybe.
What is it? Plywood? It looks like you can see the layers there.
I'm going to say it is.
It probably is.
Yeah, it definitely is. If you look back here,
You can see it. See the layers. Oh, yeah.
Right in here.
On the side there, you can totally see it.
Yeah. But it's Squire.
It's a Squire.
Which would you prefer, a solid plywood, so to speak, or a completely chambered Les Paul? You know what I mean? All those guitars that are completely routed out, or would you rather have a solid plywood guitar?
Well, I was looking at I thought that guitar Dave had was beautiful, that Charvel, but it was pine. I've never heard of a pine. Pine is
really
such a soft wood. Yeah. But pine is from what I've learned, pine is like a type of wood that has a very huge fluctuation as far as hardness. So you can, Dave said it was like 200-year-old pine. So, it could have been an old growth.
Yeah, I think the very first Telecaster that was ever built, Leo Fender, he used pine. I'm
the Nocaster, right?
Broadcaster.
So once in a while they'll do a Fender reissue and they make it out of pine. They do like a 50s tribute out of pine. So they're out there.
John B. all taps out without telling anybody. Just goodbye.
I'm trying to see if I can get an avatar on there, but how do you find the avatar? Oh, on the left side, right?
You click. I don't know. You click something and it lets you upload.
Yeah. All right. Gonna take a pee break.
So getting back to Dane's question regarding Steve Clark, what was your thought? Lost it.
Well, he was a great songwriter. Didn't he write all those riffs
he's certainly the guy that wrote the majority of what's considered Def Leppard's best material.
Mm-hmm.
Pete Willis getting kicked out after High and Dry was probably the best thing to happen to Def Leppard. When they brought Steve Clark in, he brought a groove to the band that they didn't have before. That they were a good band before Steve Clark, but Steve Clark made them a great band. And truth be told, they haven't been the same band since his death. They're still good.
To something like Bringing on the Heartache or Heartbreak.
Bring on Heartbreak.
There's harmony guitar parts in that song. And start from the very first note of the song, you're coming in on harmony guitar leads.
Well, that's the influence of Thin Lizzy and Leonard Skinner.
Thin Lizzy
other
is super
bands.
famous for that. And if you ask people, hey, what is that harmony guitar part, 2 guitar player band that does the best harmonies, everybody's going to say Thin Lizzy.
Because who will not make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, sadly.
I know. And because of the cowboy song and some of those Thin Lizzy, the boys are back in town, and
that's the one that I know. Like when I think of Thin Lizzy and I hear that, I heard that harmony part in my head when you mentioned
You're
it.
right, Mark. My mistake.
And for some reason, the Thin Lizzy harmony guitar parts really stand out, and they're memorable. But when you listen to the early Def Leppard stuff, there's almost just as many harmony guitar parts, and even the Scorpions, the early Scorpions stuff, the Blackout album, harmony guitar parts do everything. But none of those bands get the credit that Thin Lizzy gets for being a two guitar player harmony band. For some reason, that's just what everybody says. Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, the problem is Thin Lizzy only had one legitimate hit in the United States, and they've got so much great stuff that just doesn't get recognized. And and Thin Lizzy is a lot like Deep Purple in that their lineup was so unstable that you can't really say, well, what was the classic lineup of Thin Lizzy?
Right.
Because Gary Moore was in and out of the band several times.
It was all about Phil, the lead singer, bass player.
Right. Yeah, Phil was certainly the guy that drove the machine, but not the greatest.
How many albums did they release?
Thin Lizzy? Hang on.
Probably like a dozen, I would guess.
Right, and how many had hits on them? Only the first couple, right?
I remember hearing rumors about other bands wanting to get Phil. Oh, if we could do an album with that guy. All these other bands wanted to get Phil. What was his last name? Lynott?
Yep. 1, 2.
All these other guys wanted to work with him. And if he wouldn't have died at such a young age, we would have most likely gotten a ton of more music out of him in other bands.
If you count their live albums, I have 16.
Wow.
If you count the live
He
stuff.
passed in 86. I didn't know that. I thought he passed back in the 80s. I mean, in the 70s.
He did put out a great solo album called Solo in Soho. And then he also had a band called Grand Slam that he did after Thin Lizzy.
Yeah,
they didn't really put out any
several different bands. The Greedies, Wild Horses, Skid Row. He was in a band called Skid Row.
Skid Row was a band that Gary Moore was in.
And Grand Slam.
Grand Slam, I have a couple of Grand Slam records, but they're like European concerts and stuff like that. Grand Slam never really had an official studio album.
So going back to Def Leppard, it's time that Phil Collins starts wearing a shirt. Right? Somebody put a shirt on that guy.
Is he still going shirtless in 2019?
He starts off the show with a shirt, but very quickly it's off because look, he's like 56, 57 years old.
Didn't he knock Johnny out? Didn't he knock you out, Johnny?
Hey, they have a YouTube channel. Def Leppard does. They put a lot of stuff up. They go out and do concerts, and they're putting all kinds of stuff up. And it showed them backstage 5 minutes before the show, and there's Phil without his shirt on, and he's got his weights, and he's doing some arm curls, and he's trying to get his blood flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's still going out.
He's still a ripped guy. Yeah. Fruitcake Tony, you got a deal, man. I'll definitely do that. I'll get that out to you in the next. In the next month or so, I'll order a couple new Poof shirts and I'll send a few people who I owe Poof shirts, present company included.
Poof shirts.
Poof.
Yeah.
You too can be a Poof.
Well, we've made it to 12:10, which means Johnny has to be quiet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Soda and Milk, he's asking, what pickups did Gary Moore use? And now Gary Moore, from just the photos that I've seen, always played a Les Paul.
Not always, but mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a sandwich tonight? I have some. I do have a nice late night dinner.
What are you eating?
Chicken fingers. It's from the Chicken Connection. It's the real deal, man. People people have heard of KFC and Popeyes. We got the Chicken Connection.
Is it? So it's chicken tenders.
It's hometown, kind of like home style. They you can get any kind of chicken. It's like a Boston Market, but they're like the real deal.
Boston Market sucks now.
Well, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not good.
Hey, they closed the Boston market. Me and my son went to the Boston market over there on McClintock and Elliott. We drove over there 2 or 3 months ago to go have dinner, and it's closed.
There's one down the street from you on Alma School in Warner, a little further.
Oh,
down.
yeah.
Those are local Phoenix area references for the kids in other places in the country. You drinking?
That's Pepsi. Bud Light.
And it's frothy.
That's
Bud
it. Milk
Light.
every drop out of that thing. Squeeze it out.
You'll be hearing that same sound in about 20 minutes.
Yeah. You don't buy beer, you rent it.
Paul, that you had a fun night. What was it, maybe a month ago where you drank 9 or 10 beers sitting here one night, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, how'd you do last week? You set us up. You were saying I'm going to do.
I don't remember the number, but I'm
that many in.
I'm 6 or 7 in tonight. 6.
Nice.
That's if I have all my caps in here, but yeah.
It's an easygoing night. You know, it's daylight savings. You got to get a good night's sleep.
That's the beauty of being the son of an alcoholic.
Ooh.
There is a positive to it. You get the gene, but you also get the tolerance.
Oh my goodness.
You get the gene.
Yes, the gene. Was a very powerful and attractive man.
Gene does not partake in the alcohol.
I've never been drunk. I don't believe in drugs and alcohol. I find them to be reprehensible. There were members of the band who just, quite frankly, weren't on the same page. Look, when you do what we do for the fans, the fans expect a certain level of professionalism.
The fans, you sort of have like a British kind of fans. The fans.
Well, that's how he says it.
The fans.
He has this.
It's like Madonna, who takes on like she eventually adopted like a British accent.
Yeah, well,
when you get really rich, the more money you make, the more British you become.
Or if you're a villain from any nation on the planet,
German.
in Hollywood. Yes, if you're a villain on any nation of the planet, like if you ever notice, like the Emperor in Gladiator is, the people love this man.
Or Die Hard.
Yeah, everybody that's a villain, even if you're from another nation, except for the racism in Star Wars when whatever the Trade Federation was were blatantly Asian. Just blatantly, I cannot believe that he is here.
Oh, the Viceroy.
Yeah, whatever they were, the Trade Federation guys, they were just blatantly Asian. I was like, oh, come on, Lucas, what are you doing?
Man.
Stop it. Oh, look at that, a London record.
That was a thing?
Nader de Priest.
Wow.
Look at those chicks.
LA guy.
Oh my God. That should just say generic hair band.
Yeah.
London was passed around like a bad cold on the strip. Talk about a band that should have packed it in years ago.
That's pre-Photoshop, guys. That's before they could even put any kind of detail on an album cover. It was just like,
why is the dog bigger than them? On both sides, the dog is bigger.
More talented.
Crazy night.
Loudness.
Roudness. They put out a 30th anniversary of that record with like a live concert on it too. It's pretty good. Loudness, another band that never really got a foothold in the United States. Johnny, you still laughing at Roudness? Really? It was great, and I can't say it because it'll be a swear, but it was great because they would come out and they'd play, and Minoru, who's the lead singer, would be like, "Hero, madam!" And we were just like, all right, hero. Okay, Minoru. We'll start the show off that way.
Here's an oldie but a goodie right there.
Nas?
Naz.
Naz.
What's Naz?
Todd Rundgren.
Oh.
The Naz.
I knew he looked familiar.
Todd Rundgren.
Is that all the same guy? Like, Is that photo or is that a band?
4 different dudes right there.
Okay.
Not just like girls, thankfully.
And sometimes it's hard to tell. Yeah,
But
that
look,
looks.
they were kind of getting there. It was starting.
Wow, that is.
They got
Man.
some shiny stuff on, floral prints and stuff.
Naz. What is that? 75?
Yeah, that's an old one right there. That was before Utopia.
Naz.
Oh, you guys might get a kick out of that one.
Madness is
Madness.
awesome. I like ska.
Jump Beyond. Now this was. Oh, I was going to say this is a Boston band, but this wasn't a Boston band.
No, they're English.
They're English, huh?
They were on the young ones, weren't they? Madness.
Yep.
With the young ones.
Step Beyond.
Once in every lifetime.
They had a lot of rowdy gigs back in England back in the day, man.
They're a
Pre-punk
ska band, and early ska.
punk ska kind of stuff.
They only had one U.S. hit, "Our House."
Oh, was that Madness?
Yeah.
Our house in the middle of the
Is
street.
that Our House? Oh yeah.
Man, 82 maybe? Was that 82?
Kicks.
Kicks, man.
Kicks is a
Yeah, I
band.
got the receipt in here.
Keep them coming, man. That's great
Let's
stuff.
see what I paid for it. What do you guys go? Guess what I paid for the Kicks out?
99 cents.
$5.98.
It looks like $279, so grand total is $307. He didn't write very legibly, but yeah.
Kicks is a funny band. Kicks is a great example of what happens when a producer gets a hold of a band. Put out a couple of good records in the late 70s, early 80s, and a guy named Beau Hill got a hold of them. Beau Hill was the guy that made Rat sound good, which is not an easy task, and basically took Kicks and made them sound like Rat Jr., like orally. Kicks wrote great songs, but
Don't close your eyes, the ballad.
when Beau Hill started making them sound like Rat, is when they had their 15 minutes.
I love the Don't Close Your Eyes tune. Oh, here we guys go. Germans, right?
Crocus.
Swedes. Or no, Swiss.
Switzerland.
Yep, they were Swiss.
This is probably their most successful with the Screaming in the Night.
And their cover of Stayed Awake All Night is fantastic.
Isn't that another band that's gone through the hundreds of lineup changes?
Are
they still around?
Yeah, they're still around. Mark Storace was one of the guys. Mark Storace, the singer, sang for the band Warrior for one record, which is weird to me. Another band, Warrior, was a band that is sort of an underground metal band that was doing really well. Had a record called Fighting for the Earth in the early 80s. And their singer, Harry McCarty, his closest brush with fame was singing on Steve Stevens' Atomic Playboys record and doing a cover of Sweet's Action. So remember when Steve Stevens had that solo record out, the lead singer was the guy from Warrior who was replaced by Mark Storace for a record. Why do I know that?
You're into it, bro. That's why. You're into it.
Fruitcake Tony says, true
Very
story.
famous drummer in this band.
It's Carmine.
King
Cobra.
King Cobra.
Fun fact, a couple of guys in Bullet Boys were in that band.
King Cobra. That's that.
A lot of ones.
Carmine Apiece.
Carmine Appice, yeah.
Good looking boys.
Look at the hair, my God.
I know the singer in that band, man.
Marcy?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah. When she was in Signal. Do you remember Signal?
Now she wasn't she in Signal?
No.
She was still Mark.
She was Mark. Yeah, in Signal. I saw them in Lincoln, Nebraska, in the park. They did a free show, and then years later, he sent me a VHS copy of that show in the mail. Yeah,
So he transitioned. Is that what we're saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Vicky Vincent.
Fun fact: that middle guy, that guy right in the middle, will be familiar to Wasp fans as Wasp bass player Johnny Rod, who was on the Inside the Electric Circus record and Live in the Raw, I think.
And they had that song in that movie.
That narrows it down, John. Well done.
That movie.
Oh, that was way to go, man. If you could get anything on a movie soundtrack.
They had a song in a movie. One of those.
The Rodney Dangerfield movie?
No, it wasn't Top Gun. It was like a Top Gun type movie.
Iron Eagles.
Iron Eagles, something like that.
Iron Eagles.
Yeah, what was that? I know which one you're talking about.
They had the song in that.
Yeah, their big record is Ready to Strike.
So Carmen was in, because he's got a famous brother that's also a drummer.
Vinny.
Yeah, Vinny Appice. And they pronounce it differently.
Leo, and Carmen was with Rod
Stewart.
Rod Stewart.
He wrote "Do You Think I'm Sexy?"
He's played with everybody. A lot of those.
He was in Vanilla Fudge. He was in Blue Murder.
Rainbow, wasn't he in Rainbow?
Carmine's been all over the place. He's one of those legendary drummers that doesn't get mentioned.
Yeah,
but he was there during the famous Led Zeppelin Mud Shark incident.
Oh, there he is.
And a super nice guy.
Always had the mustache too, apparently.
Keel.
Another Gene Simmons band. I was the man that made sure that Ron Keel could sell 500,000 records.
There you go, Johnny. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Ron Keel.
Blind Faith.
Oh, here's an oldie buddy goodie.
Sure.
I was just gonna say. Oh my god. I was just thinking. I'm looking at a picture of Blind Faith, and then
Blind Faith.
I think that girl was 12 years old, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was Steve Winwood's niece or daughter or somebody.
Back when they used that's unbelievable. They got away with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Steve Winwood, Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker.
Yeah. It looks a little bit. The girl on the front looks a little bit like Lorraine Newman from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Blind Faith right there. That's what I was talking about.
But the big song on here was the "Can't Find My Way Home."
Covered later on by another Gene Simmons protege band.
Who is
House
that?
of Lords.
House of Lords.
Big comeback record for Iggy.
Iggy Pop.
It was a big comeback record for him.
Yeah, the Lust for Life. They got a little bit of radio airplay on some.
The resurgence with Train Spotting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it gets a lot of play in television commercials too.
And this
It's a great song, though. That is a great song.
There's a song on here called "The Passenger." And I think one of those, I heard it a lot on television commercials for the whiskey or the rum or something.
It's called the Passenger?
Yeah, The Passenger was used in the Captain commercials where they were out on a boat.
I don't recognize the name, but I'm sure if I heard it, I'd know it.
Got some classic punk rock here. Black Flag.
Ooh.
Were you guys Black Flag fans?
That Rollins? Who was that? Henry Rollins?
Yeah. Iggy's still alive, Soda.
And Henry Rollins now.
Iggy was just in a movie recently. I just watched it.
He doesn't have to sing anymore, Henry Rollins. He can go out
He's an amazing. Listen to an interview with him or him
word kind of shows where he's
just an intelligent guy. Iggy Pop was in recent. He's been in a couple Jim Jarmusch movies. One that just came out. The Dead. What is it called? The Dead Don't Die. It was actually a funny, good movie. It's on. I think it was on iTunes or something.
With David Bowie a lot. China Girl co-wrote. Iggy Pop co-wrote China Girl.
They were considering him for replacing Jim Morrison at the time.
Oh wow,
that makes sense.
That would have been good.
Can you imagine that?
For some reason I can vision that.
All right, 12:27. I think it's time for me to tap out.
We gotta be quiet.
I know. I can't talk at all.
I'm tapping out.
I was getting stuff.
You guys tired of looking at Ronald Reagan?
Paul, message me on Facebook or on the Messenger, Paul.
Yeah, I'll hit you up tomorrow.
Definitely. Whenever you get a chance.
Have a fun rest of your show.
Meh.
Goodbye, Paul. See you someday down at the shop. He comes in every couple of weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
We're neighbors.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, huh? He's become a regular, which is awesome.
Paul, Paul's cool. Good guy, Paul. It's a terrible audience.
Neanderthal.
Johnny, I like the what is it? The early Van Halen new Facebook page you made. Van Halen early years or something.
Yeah,
I've been following a lot of. It's not. Is that you or that's not you?
It is me,
but it's not you.
It wasn't me.
Whoever has been running it has been putting some great pictures on there.
Right now, it's called Old Era, right?
Mm-hmm.
Old Era Van Halen. That's what the previous guy named it. That it's been called different things over the years. Yeah, I didn't create the page, but I was given the page.
That's cool.
So I'm the admin of that page now, and it's private, and I can't figure out how to make it public.
Well, I don't know if I'm subscribed to it or whatever, but I've noticed some great pictures on there.
Well, you must be, because that's how you would have seen it.
Yeah, I don't remember actually like subscribing myself, but I think it just was like an automatic thing, like because I'm subscribed to you. And anyway, of course, now I can't find one picture from it, but definitely some cool pictures that I haven't seen before that have been posted to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And yeah, as soon as I can figure out how to make the page public where people can find it, I'll promote it on here.
And don't forget to subscribe. Johnny Beane, Beane's second channel. Discord. I put a few things in Discord this week. I've been looking at. There's a great page for Alex Van Halen information. It goes through every bit of every drum kit he's used, every arranged. Obviously Al's had some amazing kind of drum kits, but he kind of, there's a couple of different interviews that he's talking about, how the art of putting together a drum kit and that kind of thing, which is interesting. Do you guys, we've all seen the pictures of his huge drum kit in, 81 and, you guys realize he actually was using 6 kick drums in those kits. We can see 4 of them, but 2 of them are actually connected double kick drums. And he started that in, I think,
a kick drum on the front of a kick drum.
Yeah, 2 kick drums connected. So it would be like I think 26 by 28. So just a giant kick drum. And then he had 2 different sizes for the main kick drums. the right kick was a 26-inch and the left kick was a 24-inch.
Yeah.
And then whenever we had like the extra 2 on the outsides, those were both 24-inch kicks. So interesting. And, you know, he talks about why what's the purpose of having 4 kick drums, or, you know, when you have those outrigger ones, and it was really just showmanship. That's really what it came down to. He did mic them, and he had air hoses going between them and everything. But when it really comes down to it, it was showmanship. But that's what I mean, man,
was a good show.
It was amazing to see that, you know, back in the day when he would, you know, have those amazing drum sets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of, you know, the 5150 build. I'm going to try and redo a 1/24 of Alex's drum set.
And he used to really showcase his skills. You know what I'm saying? He would do a solo. He would have the giant gong. He'd light on fire. He had fire extinguishers on his kit.
The riser, all of it, yeah.
Oh yeah, and he put on a great show. And he would do that thing on his snare where he'd go click, 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 click.
Build up to the
faster, faster, and then it sounded like a double, or it turned almost mechanical.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so
I was seeing that in Live Without a Net. Yeah, when he just, you know, and it was just that. Eventually, it just sounds like one tone. You know, it's not like it's like just a tone. You know what I'm talking about.
Back then,
amazing.
But then when I saw them in 2015, he was kind of a little bit more just kind of back in the back.
And since I think like 90, since Balance era, he had a backing track for a lot of his like a Latin percussion kind of thing going behind his drum solo for a lot of it. What was the song on Balance, the drum solo sort of
Doing Time,
yeah.
The him doing the backing track during the solos, that kind of started, I think, in like 90. I remember in 93 is when I first heard that, but I'm thinking it might have started earlier. Like he might have been doing that in like 0812, like certain times, like different times, like not every show or something.
Then when you started listening to the David Lee Roth solo stuff, maybe not the Eat 'Em and Smile, but even the A Little Ain't Enough album, and even the one about the Heat. What's that? The one
Crazy from
the Heat. All kinds of percussion going on and everything, and you'd listen to that, and you'd be, how did they pull that off live? You know, I always wanted, being in a band. If I was in a 3-piece band, and I'd play bass and sing, I'd have one guitar player and a drummer, I would be into and interested in the other 3-piece bands around the world. And then once you get into a 2-piece or a 5-piece band with 2 lead guitar players and a lead singer, I'd start to listen to 5-piece bands with 2, you know what I'm saying? So I'd always kind of, you know, if I accidentally maybe had a keyboard player in the band at one time, I would start to listen to the Flock of Seagulls, and I'd want to hear keyboard stuff.
Sure, yeah. Listen to a lot of ELP.
Yeah. I actually was in a band in 95.
Good night, Soda.
And we were called Minds of Stone. And we opened up for Badfinger at the Electric Ballroom down in Tempe, Arizona. And we were like an adult contemporary style of music, where guys had a fun little 3-piece band together. They wrote all these originals. I came in and said, hey, man, I got this Roland JX8 keyboard. I can add pretty organ tones. I can add beautiful little string sections. Let me be in the band. And they're like, okay, yeah, you can be in the band. And I can watch a bass player play, and I can follow along with string sections and doing stuff like that. And then I ended up getting I met a saxophone player that was a great guy. He was part of the ASU marching band, and his name is Todd. A great saxophone player. So we ended up being a 5-piece band where we had bass, drums, guitar, keyboards, and saxophone.
Johnny.
So we turned into like adult contemporary style of music. And we opened up for Badfinger. And now Badfinger, you know, that's a tragic story where these guys have sold 13 million albums on the Apple label. And
I'm sorry, Renus Pinkles, man. Come on.
Badfinger sold 13 million albums on Apple, and they are completely broke. 2 of the guys have committed suicide.
Now I'm seeing that. Yeah. Sorry, Dane. I guess
that's all right.
Johnny chose to go with the low brow.
No, it's horrible, man. Come on. Oh my god.
Well, you may as well share the Johnny's dying from that. Oh my goodness. I was listening to your story, Dane.
Well, basically, we opened for a great band, and they came to America in the early 70s. They were on the Apple label. I asked Joey Molland backstage, I'm like, hey, did you ever get high with Paul McCartney? And he said, no, but me and George used to hang around all the time. So I'm like, wow, this guy hung out with George Harrison. But George Harrison sort of used Badfinger.
Obviously, they have a huge Beatles influence. Were they in? Was anyone in Wings or any? Did they play with Paul McCartney or?
No, but they recorded everything at Abbey Road Studios.
Johnny is just losing it.
He is, huh?
Is Rena still talking? I am listening to you. This is an interesting story because I do like a lot of the Badfinger stuff that I've heard.
Yeah, but 2 of their original members committed suicide. And so what happened is when their first U.S. tour, they got an American agent. And he opened up some sort of an account where every penny of Badfinger's money goes into this account. And then he would write the members of the band a paycheck. But it was, you know, few and far between where these guys got paychecks.
Yeah, so he was screwing them the whole time.
He screwed them.
Yeah.
And 2 of the guys committed suicide within the next 10 or 12 years or something.
Really?
So,
yeah. Yeah, the chat's just going crazy.
I guess we need to let me call Paul and say, dude, we need you. Come back on.
What did Fruitcake? Fruitcake was saying something earlier. I don't know. 2:39 in the AM. 3:39 if it were not daylight savings.
I'm calling Neanderthal, man. We need him. We need
that noise. This is what you get late night on.
Is he going to answer?
Hello,
Neanderthal, dude, we need you, man. We're dying here without you.
it's after midnight. Show's over.
After midnight.
We're supposed to go till 1 o'clock.
I didn't know that. I'm not coming back.
Paul's busy.
I want my own settlement.
He's taking care of business.
No brown M&Ms.
And I want to be able to make a solo album.
Oh man.
Okay, man. Johnny's gonna allow you to do a solo album.
And I want my own tour bus.
His own tour bus.
And I want folding sandwiches. And God damn it, no brown M&M.
Okay, I'm sure we can make that happen, dude, because we're dying here without you.
How are you guys? Are you guys still screaming right now?
Of course we are. The show must go on.
All right,
Okay.
I'm coming back.
Okay, man. Fourth quarter. This
He's
is
coming
it.
back.
Come back.
2 minutes left.
Come
Fourth
back.
quarter.
Come back.
Okay. Awesome. I guess he's coming back. He doesn't need to go to sleep yet.
Johnny's getting yelled at.
When you get really tired, that's when you become hysterical.
It's the best material.
Yeah. It's just that Rena Spinkle.
Check out the rig rundown videos with Alex Van Halen's drum tech. They're pretty cool.
Hey, I saw a rig rundown just yesterday or the day before, and it was Bad Religion. And I did not recommend that enough. Rundown.
I love all of those. They're great. The guy who's in the guy that does all the interviews, John. I think his name is John. From Premier Guitar. But those are really cool interviews.
Yeah, and those guys in Bad Religion are playing like old 59 juniors with P90s in them now. So Bad Religion went from playing Les Pauls with humbuckers to P90s and all that kind of stuff, and it's a really good one.
You guys want to learn all about smoke machines?
Oh my god!
There's a whole chapter on smoke machines here. Dry ice, foggers, cracked oil, pyrotechnics.
Are those moves?
Important stuff, man. Control consoles. No, I'm going to have to spend some time with this book because it's very cool.
Cracked what?
Cracked oil. I think smoke machines have evolved since.
Oh, look at this.
They're a lot different. They use all kinds of different stuff. The juice is different.
Damn, there was a good. What the hell is that? There we go. Oh, there's a cool lighting plot there. I can't even read which band that is, but it's got the whole lighting plot in there. That's the stuff I live for. Don Henley.
Dude, don't get those pages stuck together, man.
Yeah, wait till later tonight.
Oh.
I will get in touch with Dave Davidoff, and I would love to have an interview with him. Anyway, Madonna.
Oh no!
Oh no! Luchador Libre.
Hola, motherfucker.
The Luchador.
It's back for the fourth quarter.
This is my tribute to Strong Bad. I should have put the boxing gloves on.
Oh, Strong Bad. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
I'm old
remember
enough
that.
to remember that.
How is that movie Nacho Libre? Did you ever see that? I'm a big Jack Black fan, but I've never seen Nacho Libre. Nobody cares to comment.
I kind of enjoyed it, but I don't think it was one of those kind of movies that you would want to watch over and over and over again.
It's not one of those movies you care about.
You only want to see it once.
It's very weird to be listening to you this way. And
It's very weird to be looking at you this way. That is a great mask, though. That's a great mask.
I got this in Las Gaviotas, Mexico, which I believe
say it right. Los Gavios.
Los Gaviotas. I believe Las Gaviotas translates into the many Gaviotas. And I was in, my buddy Don and I had a blood alcohol level approaching nuclear. And we walked into this little shop in the middle of
Los Gatos.
In the middle of Puerto Nuevo, which I believe is the new Puerto. And we walked into the place, and the place, hundreds of luchador masks. And in Mexico, they take lucha libre very seriously. Every mask has a story. They're almost like Greek gods to them. And I have no idea the story behind this mask. But Don and I were able to wrangle 2 of them out of them for like $25. And there's another one behind me over.
So did someone actually wrestle with that mask at some point?
I'm guessing there was a real wrestler that had this mask. Somebody would be able to
Who are some of our most famous masked wrestlers out there?
Well, the biggest one is obviously Rey Mysterio. And then there was one called Mil Máscaras, who was the man of 1,000 masks. That's what Mil Máscaras translates into. Those are the 2 biggest ones. Mil Máscaras used to do
back in the 80s, though. Who
like
are the
superhero movies?
Who were some of the guys in the 80s that were masks? I know there was like the Ultimate Warrior who had the painted face, but
yeah, Dr. X. There were several executioners, and
Johnny is still just dying laughing over there.
The Masked Assassin. And are you still laughing at this, Johnny?
I was laughing earlier. Oh gosh. It's been it's weird when I can't talk. All I can do is giggle, you know.
This is a pretty kick-ass mask, though.
Yeah, that's not a bad mask. For you say $20? That's not bad.
If I still lived in Oakland, I would wear this at Raiders games. And my name would be L. Davis.
Let's talk football for a minute. Who do they play tomorrow?
The Raiders I think they play the Lions. I don't know who they play tomorrow. Don't care.
And they're playing like 500 ball this year, huh?
4 right.
wins.
They're like 3-5.
That's what the Cardinals are doing.
Yeah, they're not good.
How are the Patriots doing this year?
Patriots are doing great as far as their offense.
Who the hell cares?
I honestly haven't watched 1 quarter.
The team to really watch out for is, believe it or not, the 49ers, which is scary to me because they haven't been good in like 15 years, and suddenly they're good.
Yeah, they're 8-0 now. They beat the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football.
Not a big
only by 3 points.
Not a big win, though, because the Cardinals are, what's the word I'm looking for? Bad.
Very competitive. The Cardinals are very competitive. We got a #1 draft pick at
What's the word I'm looking for?
And to play that close where San Francisco, with 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter, they're worried. They were worried. Admit it.
Did they win the game?
No, they didn't. But, man, San Francisco was getting worried.
Worry is very common in the Bay Area.
I can't believe I called you and you actually came back and you answered your phone.
So did anyone win the World Series yet? Is that over?
Yes, that's over.
Washington.
The Montreal Expos won the World Series.
First time ever, I think.
Was it the Nationals? Is that what the team is?
Yeah. And what's funny is Trump went to the game on maybe Wednesday night, and the whole audience booed.
Really? Yeah, I did see I saw something about that he went to the game and nobody recognized or nobody cared.
Oh, they recognized.
Well, they cared, and but nobody gave him any props.
So, were you wearing that mask, before he called you?
No, unfortunately.
That's as soon as he goes off the air. That's what he puts on.
Yeah.
Yes, it's. I wear this when I put on my CPAP.
He puts that mask on. He starts chasing those dogs around the house.
Show's over. Go home. Come on, Tony.
I just love the fact that
Renus is still talking about his days back in his band. His band. That's funny.
this mask doesn't fit my head. Just in case you guys.
It sounds like you're a little restricted in there.
Yeah, he does wear it to bed.
I got to take it off. It's fucking hot.
It sounds uncomfortable, Paul.
This is a rarity. A luchador will unmask.
Oh my God!
It's Paul. Holy crap.
Almost passed out.
Meh.
All right, there we go.
Ah.
The weird part about it is when a guy walks into a store and buys one of these.
I need head.
They're like, "What are you doing?" Like,
I'm looking for head.
I need a
Give me a head.
to put my luchador mask on. They're like, how old are you? What's wrong with you? I don't only have one luchador mask. I have several, and I don't know why. But then again,
You're a collector. You've got all kinds. Look at what's that football there?
Where are the dogs?
that's just a regular football. I do have
Dogs
several
are hiding
collectible
from
footballs,
them.
though. I have footballs from like 6 different leagues, but I do have collectibles that are somewhere in another part of the house. Like
What's
I have a USFL game ball.
I was going to say, what's that? The league that the arena football league that they had years ago? X
The
ball.
XFL.
XFL. Yeah,
I have an XFL ball. I have.
you do have an XFL ball. Of course you do.
Hang on.
What did that do? Last one season? XFL.
Yep, it's coming back.
Was it owned by? Was it Fox? Rupert Murdoch or something?
Vince McMahon.
Oh, was it? Okay, that's right. I knew it was.
I think one thing that kind of hurt them is they wouldn't actually have their names of the player. They would use like stage names, and they'd come up with weird names. And yeah, I think that maybe hurt them a little bit in the long run.
Just a little bit.
That and the fact that they cut a deal with NBC. NBC ran games, XFL games, and on Saturday nights they made it. They assured NBC that the early game on Saturday night would be over by 11:30 Eastern, so that Saturday Night Live would not be preempted. And week 1, they blew that. So essentially, it was Vince McMahon guaranteed Lorne Michaels that our football games will never interrupt Saturday Night Live. Now, you can never do that. If the game starts at 8 o'clock and it goes into overtime, of course it's going to interrupt East Coast time. So it was very difficult for them to live up to that promise. So that was one of the things. The other thing is the first time they had this thing, the XFL had a great thing where they tried to eliminate kickoffs. So they had what they called the scramble for the ball. They would be on the goal line. There'd be 2 players, and they would take the ball and throw it to like the 40-yard line. You like toss it out there, and 2 guys had to run and like recover it like it was a fumble. And whoever ended up with possession of the football, that was the team that got possession of the game. Got first possession of the game. First time they did it, Saturday night, it's the brand new XFL. Here it is, the scramble for the ball, and the first guy broke his arm. Like this, like grotesque arm broke on national television. I'm like, whoops. And having Jim Ross call games probably didn't help either. Jim Ross and Jesse Ventura and
Well, they hyped the hell out of that. That was I remember that. Yeah, was it
What was that?
2000, 2001?
Yeah, something like that.
What was that female football league that was going on where you saw these girls in little skin tight things, but big shoulder pads, and they were just beating up on each other?
I
That'd be
missed
the
that.
lingerie league.
What league was it?
Was it for real?
The lingerie football league.
Oh, yeah. Is that still going on?
Got to pay for it now.
That was hard to watch.
Not necessarily in that order.
Whatever happened to roller derby?
Roller
They
derby.
still got the roller derby in Phoenix.
They still have it in California too. Yeah.
Or Jello wrestling. Used to be able to catch that on late night.
You know what I always wondered? I always wondered why people got mad about dwarf tossing or dwarf bowling. Hear me out.
It's been on my mind for a long time too.
Let me finish. There's two things. I got two dwarf references for you. The first one is I don't understand why dwarf tossing was a problem. It's not like a guy, like a little person walked into a bar with a handle strapped to his back and somebody randomly just threw him. Like they knew what he was getting into. He showed up. He was a willing participant. He put on the harness and said, all right, let's see how far we could take this. Same thing with dwarf bowling. It's not like somebody took a little person and said, all right, I forgot my ball. Let's just throw Michael down here and see what happened. Like, I don't get it. Like, the dwarfs are in. They're in on the jag. They're getting paid. That's question one. Question two, why, when ESPN used to show repeats of wrestling, they would show midget wrestling. And yeah, I used the word midget. I used it because they didn't use it during AWA wrestling. They'd show midget wrestling, and they would have the play-by-play going on, and they'd be like, Sky Low Low and, Mr. Under the Bar are the greatest tag teams of all time. Like, they edited the word midget out. Like, suddenly you'd be late night going like this, watching television. You go, oh, look, wrestling's on. Boy, that referee's inordinately large.
Oh, man.
Midgets are in. If they want dwarfs and midgets and little people, whatever they're doing that's exploitative, it's not like somebody just gathered them around and said, hey, let's get a bunch of midgets and just throw them around and see what happens.
That was pretty much the idea back in the day. I mean, let's
throw a midget.
Exactly. They're tiny. We've got some big, huge, what was it? WrestleMania 3. And I think it was like the opening match was like a battle royal with all midget wrestlers.
Just so silly.
Or it was like a combination. It was like the Hillbillies. Remember the Hillbillies from the WWF? Hillbilly Jim.
Audience?
No, Hillbilly Jim and Uncle Elmer, the big giant. I think it was Uncle Elmer. That was like in the few years that I actually watched WWF.
And we're back to UFO records.
Yeah, let's get back to.
Well, Brooke asked me best album of the 70s.
Wait, you guys called me back for this?
All right.
I've got a great idea for the album cover. You're going to stand there with a trench coat with nothing on under it, and we're going to see your bare chest, and you're going to be on a subway.
I'm in.
It's industrial, man. First industrial album.
No, it's not.
Oh, and they argued over how much skin we should show. How many buttons should we put that
well, you got
jacket
the
on?
beginnings of the happy trail there down at the bottom of that thing.
So
there were corporate discussions over that. I guarantee you.
I imagine there were. We can't show that. How many pubes is okay to show?
How many nipples?
Pete Way on bass. Michael Schenker.
What band was that?
UFO.
Michael Schenker, yeah.
Yeah,
Ravi Shankar on
Lights Out.
Guitar.
He also had Too Hot to Handle.
Too Cold to Hold. They called the Ghostbusters.
Michael Schenker Band.
Man. Well, I can't talk anymore at all.
I think we're good. I'm good, Johnny.
I just came back.
Sorry, Paul.
Who do you know that you can call at midnight and say, "Hey, man, answer your phone"?
Call Jay
phone at
1 o'clock. David Nesdall. Let's piss off Dave.
He answered at 1 o'clock in the morning.
You got to do that now. Start calling people.
It's only 3 a.m.
What do you want me?
There's nothing like crank calls in the middle of the night. What are we, 12? I'm sorry. Now the show got immature.
It is Halloween weekend.
Caller ID now everywhere, man.
Renus is on board.
John says with more than a hint of disappointment in his voice. Caller ID. Genuinely disappointed. Damn it.
Soda wants you to wake up, Dave.
Foiled. Now you don't want to wake up Dave. Mostly, no, not because you want to wake up Dave, but you don't want to piss off Desiree.
No.
She doesn't need this. She's got enough she's got to deal with. She's got a house full of guitars. Just think about that for a second.
God bless her.
You're
man.
marrying somebody, and I'm not dumping on Dave in any way, shape, or form. But imagine you're a woman and you're in love with somebody, and his obsession is collecting guitars, and that house is wall to wall guitars.
Could be worse.
It could be worse if he's
Not much.
his guitar women's names, like come here, Cindy.
Right. I mean, that can't be so. That's not exactly what every wife imagines her house is going to be decorated with. I wouldn't know. Don't have one.
He's got the whole living room filled with guitars. He's got a whole room as a tech room, to do setups and stuff. I mean, I guess so. That's probably,
Here's what happens. It's the
50% of his house.
The old tit for tat. When you're married and you buy yourself a guitar, you have to buy your woman a new pair of shoes or a new handbag or whatever.
None of that is sexist in any way.
No, it's not. But that's pretty much how the world works. Tit for tat.
Now, would we get flagged every time he says tit?
Oh my god.
Yep, tit for tat. Don't ever tell your wife you bought a new guitar. Always leave it in the trunk or something for a few days.
That's why you get them all in the same color.
The same color, yeah. That's a classic argument.
Wow. They are just too stupid to know the difference. They're all so dumb. If you get multiple, because if they're all the same color, nobody can count them.
Well, it's like that one guitar Eddie Van Halen had with the red, black, and white stripes. The one, the one that he had.
It's the one.
The one that he had.
The one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just. How many CDs you got? One.
Don't ever tell your wife when you've sold a guitar. Don't ever tell you how much you sold a guitar for. Don't ever tell her how much you paid for a guitar. The list goes on and on.
Dane, are you married?
No, I am not.
Shocking.
The
only one here that's laughing that's laughing legitimately is the guy that's not allowed to make noise.
Johnny knows.
Yeah.
It's all good. I'm just playing.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight.
I still have an hour until my time zone.
I think we should.
Are you still going to do another hour of the show, Johnny?
No. I can't talk.
I think
I
we have a top 10 list of how you can have a guitar collection without your wife knowing about it.
Dane, are you still talking?
I'm on the same little kick here. I get on a kick and that's what I do.
All right. Well, for the second time tonight, good night.
Wow. I could
call man.
If you want me to, I'll call him back. What do you guys think? Should I?
I'm all good.
Are we wrapping it up?
I can't talk. I can't say anything. Yeah.
Johnny can't talk.
Plus, I've got rehearsal tomorrow at noon.
Gotta get up real early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're good. I gotta read my books.
Johnny, thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you, man.
Check out the Jim's Guitars YouTube channel.
This is the ASMR version, right?
There'll be a link in the description. You can get a Zim's Guitars t-shirt.
Zim's Guitars.
Yeah.
Mesa, Arizona. Zim's Guitars.
Yeah, that's all.
Have a good night and have a great week, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Watch football tomorrow. I hear crickets. It's getting late.
let's just say have a good night to everyone. Have a good night, Soda. Have a good night, Mickey. Have a good night, Dutchie. Good night, Renus. Fruitcake.
Yeah. We
Laverna.
never did roll call.
I know. That's why we'll do it now. Good night, Fruitcake. Ron Padgett, have a great night. Nightbot, have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Vista Light, have a great night.
Good night.
Sweet dreams. Johnny Beane, have a great night.
Good night, Johnny.
Phil Mosley, have a great night.
Phil Mosley music. Great backing tracks.
Frank Corcoran, have a great night, everyone. Have a good night. Take it easy. And everyone else. So we still live? We're still live. Gary Tholander. Romeo Delight.
Good night.
Gotta keep checking, yeah. Everyone. That's it. And there's only been like 5 people chatting in the last hour, so.
Good night.
Anyone still around? Renus, Phil Mosley. All right. 44 watching, 43 thumbs up. Thanks a lot, folks. Tune in next week. Tune in Tuesday for Talking Guitars with Mr. Mancuda. Mr. Mancuda and the crew.
I was just don't wake him up. He's scratching and wakes up.
Oh, sorry, Johnny.
Sounds like he's splitting wood.